What's going on, everybody? It's your boy PTK Blam back with another episode of the Shop Podcast. Another phenomenal week. We missed you guys last week. I'm so sorry. Had something come up at the last minute, man. It's been a couple times the last month or two that I've done that. So I do apologize, but we are back this week. We got another phenomenal show. As you can see, we got a packed panel. We got a phenomenal guest. The chat's filling up. If you are new here, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. If you are not, welcome back to the show. You know what we do here, man, the Shop Podcast, the best place to get all your gaming news and information at the end of the week, man. So come hang out with us, share that link, retweet the link out. But let me get to the reason why we're here, man, and that's this panel, man. Let's go ahead and just start with our guests. And we got two familiar guests. If you're not new here, you'll see these two gentlemen. But before we get into the names, do me a favor, go down in the description of the video and go follow these two gentlemen. Go support everything that they're doing, man. We appreciate them being here. But we're gonna start with you, Logan, a fan favorite here at the Shop Podcast, an extension of Xbox expansion pass. Shout out to Luke. I saw him in chat already, so he was creeping around here as well, Logan. Yeah. But shout out to you. Appreciate you coming back, bro. We got a big show, but how you been?
I'm good, man. What a heckin' week of gaming this has been. I would literally tore off the headset, shut down the console, and closed the TV, and came in here as soon as I saw the link, and I was like, I'm sorry, I didn't even get to say goodbye to Luke and the guys when we were playing Call of Duty.
Man,
I was just like, tell you what, 45 minutes goes quick when you're playing quick match.
Oh, definitely, man. But we'd love to have you here, man. Once again, a big, you know, you've been a fan of the show. I've been a fan of you. We all have here, man. Once again, you guys go follow Logan. Also, let them know about what's going on with the other podcasts as well. The Keyhole.
Yeah. So, I mean, Xbox fan here. I do Keelhauled podcast. So if you guys have had any interest in Sea of Thieves or you like to keep up on games going, I've been doing, I just crossed over 300 episodes for Keelhauled.
Oh, congratulations, man.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. So yeah, I'm doing Sea of Thieves content through Keelhauled, and I'm doing Xbox content through the Xbox expansion pass. Luke brought me on this year, and we've been having a heck of a time playing through that. So yeah, it's been a really fantastic year for podcasting and for gaming, but I'm happy to be here. I'm really excited to get to talk some news with you guys.
Awesome, man. Awesome. And I'm juiced up. Like I said, anytime we come off a week where we don't get a chance to have this show, it's always a big show coming back, man. So we appreciate you being here, Logan, on the comeback show, man. And next but not least, I don't know how we fit these two in the podcast. I'm gonna be honest with you, chat. The bandwidth, we barely got him in here.
We definitely know the next guy is least. We know the next guy is definitely least. So let's go.
We barely got these two guys.
Just say his name and move on, would you?
All this hate so early.
Goodness.
It's crazy, man.
Oh man.
I think that tells you right there, PTK, who has to be squeezed out.
Oh my goodness. This is what I deal with behind the scenes. See, this is what I deal with. Every time I get Umbro here, we got to deal with this behind. It's ridiculous. We got to come to some kind of truce, Pong.
He starts this nonsense. He comes into the chats of my podcast and starts this nonsense. I am not the instigator here at all.
I am innocent.
So nobody's going to take any accountability. Is that where we at?
It started with Pong. I'll just put it to you like that.
He did
it. Too much, man. But shout out to you, Umber. Appreciate you coming to hang out. It's been a little while, man, but we always love having you on. Once again, you've been on the show multiple times, but we love having you here. How you been, bro? What you been up to?
Oh man, it's always a treat, man. It's always a beautiful thing to join you guys. You too, Pong, and it's always great. I've been good, man. I've been, doing my podcasting thing and trying to, continue my little podcasting journey with my own thing with the fix. So it's getting there, man. It's getting there for sure. I'm growing each and every day. I'm learning more, and I'm trying to be better, each time I do what I do. Yeah, man. As far as like what I've been doing and playing and things like that, I have been funny enough, besides Spider-Man 2 and Modern Warfare 3, I started back on like some of my backlog. So I finally got to Mafia 2.
Oh, okay.
So I've been playing Mafia 2. Yeah, it's really good actually. I love the first one, the definitive edition rather.
Yeah.
So I'm playing part 2 in that collection, and it is solid, man. It is solid. You could tell it's it's dated as far as visuals, but it's still good. It's still a good game. So I'm loving that. There is something I have coming up on the 25th of this month that I'm really hyped for. And that'll be with Shane Bailey, who was an ex Ubisoft developer and everything like that. They run this thing called the Cure on Cancer. Cure on Cancer Bailey. I don't want to misquote how the name of it, but I believe it's Cure on Cancer, and it's going to be a table read for Halo 2. And
wow.
Yeah, man, and had a bunch of cast all in it. I even brought in Silent Cypher, and he's hyped for it too. So he's going to be doing Commander Halfjaw for the Halo 2 script, and I'll be doing Tartarus. So, yeah, man, I'm hyped. Now, I do want to assuage anybody's fears that it's a black man playing a space monkey, essentially. But we don't take it any racist way, folks. I told them cast me as whatever deep voice you got. I could have been an elite. I could be Grave Mind. Tartarus works for my tone. All of that works. So yeah, Tartarus for me. And I could give y'all. I'll give y'all a little taste at the end of the show. How about that?
Okay.
I'll give y'all a little taste. I know Pong want to hear it. I know he's hyped.
Oh yeah, Pong is.
I was hoping you were going to say that you were going to be Cortana. I thought that would be a fantastic fit. I thought that would be perfect.
I can't even imagine trying to do that. Never make a girl a promise. Nah, that won't work.
It's not gonna work. Not gonna work. Not gonna work. You're a little rough.
Yeah,
but we appreciate you, Umbra.
That'll be the trans version right there.
Oh, here we go.
The trans Cortana.
Terrible. Shout out to you, Umbra, for coming through though, man. And once again, doing big things. You guys go follow Umbra. All that information is in the description. A big friend of the show here at the Shop Podcast, man. We got a lot to talk about, but let me get to my brothers. I'm so miss these two gentlemen. They make this show what it is, man. We're gonna start with you, Mr. Fuzzy Belvedere. How you been, brother?
I've been doing pretty good, just watching the craziness on the app formerly known as Twitter and interacting a little bit, just having some fun on there, because I mean, some people take some things too serious or take offense to words or I don't know, tax and stuff. It's like, I don't know. We'll get into that at some other point, but for the most part, glad to be here with you guys. Glad we got some special guests on here tonight. Always fun being on here with Umbra and Captain Logan. So yeah, we're gonna have a good one tonight. So let's do this.
Awesome. And shout out to you too, Fuzz. Like I said before, all that stuff is in the description. Go follow Fuzz, man. Appreciate you here, brother. And last but not least, man, you know how to save you for last, Pong, for sure. The man with the energy, the Duracell battery here of the Shop Podcast. Yeah, how you doing, brother? How you feel? I know I gotta ease your way into this because we got Umbra on the show. This is volatile.
No. I gotta save some oxygen for the room so Umbra can get his bars off. So we're gonna keep this short. It's been fantastic. Okay, what a fantastic week. Great to be back in the seat again. Last week was really strange because I had the whole Saturday off because we didn't have split screen, and then obviously we didn't have the shop. It was strange. I didn't know what to do with myself except for game. I just game more. That's all I did. Right. So. But no, great to be back here. Obviously fantastic to have two amazing guests as Captain Logan and Infinite Umbra. Both are. Love to hear their thoughts. Always appreciate when they join the show. So great to have those two in the house. And we do have a lot to talk about if I could speak tonight. Because this week was crazy, like Fuzzy said. We knew come Monday that the internet was going to burn one way or the other, and it certainly burned. So the community never fails. It never fails to bring us the drama, to bring us the nonsense, and it certainly did this week. So yeah, we definitely got to get a lot to get into. Finally hit level 100 Sork with my finally last weekend and Monday. I think I finished it off. Got to 100, so now I got to get the band back together. We got to get everybody to 100 so we can go after Uber. Uber. Why can't I speak tonight? Uber Lilith. I want to go beat her before the season's over with. But other than that, played some Modern Warfare 3 and been messing around with Starfield again. Back home again in space and having a good time. Yeah, I do already know. But
too long.
yeah, no. It's been a couple weeks, and I've decided that I needed to finally get back to it. So I jumped back in again, and my God, it was fantastic. So, but yeah, that's been it for gaming. But let's get down to business, PTK. We got a lot to get into.
Oh yeah, we know why we're here, man. We appreciate you, Pong, man. But let's dive right into it. Once again, I appreciate everybody in chat. Let me do some quick shout outs. Louise, Taylor, Shonsu. Appreciate you down there. Why so serious? Everybody, once again, retweet the link. Let everybody know we are live, man. It's the best place, man. So we're going to start with the poll of the week this week. We had 1,200 people vote. So shout out to you guys. It was an awesome poll, man. It was a good one. This week, it was kind of a preface to kind of everything going on because obviously you see the thumbnail. This show, we are talking about the Game Awards. So the poll mimics that. So the poll this week was the Game Awards have announced the Game of the Year nominations. What's the biggest snub? We're going to go ahead and get this out of the way. And I had 3 options. Technically 4. We had Hogwarts Legacy, Hi-Fi Rush, Starfield, or other. I thought about it later on, and it always happens after I post it. Other probably should have been, in my opinion, Diablo, but whatever. We'll go ahead and just start with you, Logan, on this one, bro. I don't know if you saw the poll, if you took part in the poll. Which one did you vote for? And did you have maybe a second option as well?
Yeah, I mean they're all really good picks as far as like things that got snubbed this year. And I even saw like Jeff Keighley's like tweet like, hey, it's not cool to talk about snubs. It's like, okay, well, yeah, but things still get snubbed. Hogwarts Legacy is what I voted on. And I say that because it didn't get any nominations. And
none. For anything.
It didn't get any recognition. And it's a real shame because I think that a lot of people worked hard on that game, and I don't support the creator of the world, but I mean I'm ingrained in that world. It's been a part of my life ever since I started getting into it back when the books were the only thing that was coming out, and you can't take that away from me, man. That's going to be a part of my history, and I can't ignore the facts of like what's happened, but there's always going to be something political about gaming and is made by people who have opinions and stuff. So to get no nominations when it's as solid of a game as it is, that bothers me, man. It's like it sold 12 million copies in the first 2 weeks. That's like God of War level, man. That's like a really, really high selling game. 12 million copies is nothing to shrug at. Yeah. And it got nothing. And you're not wrong. There are so many other games that got snubbed. And yeah, there's only like 6, but compared to some of the games that were on the list of Game Award nominations, I was like, I feel like there was other something. Because I always want something in the Game Awards, like nominations for Game of the Year. I wanted to like push the industry forward. I want a company to look at that and be like, we can take that and then take it to the next level. And I think we've seen that with past games and stuff like that. We've seen that ever since like Overwatch or Breath of the Wild got, into the Game of the Year discussions and stuff. But I don't know, man. There's good picks in this. It's not a bad list, but there's definitely a couple snubs. And I knew Starfield was going to be like the one that was probably going to be the most popular. So I went with Hogwarts Legacy on that one. Now.
Okay. And you know what, Hogwarts Legacy is interesting too because I've never seen a game do critically so well, right? It did critically well, reviewed, very well as well. Also sell as well. It was one of the highest selling games of the entire year still, even with all of those other games coming out. And I don't know where it sits at currently. I know it was top.
It's still number 1.
It's still number 1. See, that's my whole point. I've never seen a game just because of some outside political drama that actually kind of blew over rather quickly once the game came out. Because all of that went away once the game actually came out. So that was all like pre-game release, which is strange. I've never seen a game in a position do so well critically and from a sales standpoint, not get any kind of recognition. It wasn't my choice, but I understand why a lot of people would say Hogwarts Legacy because it doesn't make any sense. Like it doesn't make any sense at all. I picked Starfield, obviously, just because I feel like just the game. That's the one. So the one game all year people talked about that got compared to every other game. So there's a reason for that. Like all like nobody compared Spider-Man 2 to Tears of the Kingdom. Nobody compared, Hogwarts Legacy to, Hi-Fi Rush. Like all the comparisons for Game of the Year before we got these nominations, it was what against Starfield. Like so, just for the recognition, it's probably the most talked about Game of the Year, probably the most scrutinized Game of the Year. And it's still, in my opinion, over-delivered. It was their biggest drop as far as Bethesda's biggest release. It was also essentially, from a technical standpoint, their most like smooth release. As big as this game was, it was an extremely smooth release. So I think you pair those two things. I think my eyes are still kind of in the stars with Starfield, no pun intended. Just because it blew me away. I've never had that experience with a single player game. and you can speak with this, Pong, better than I can. And I told you this, after I played the game, that like it took me somewhere in video games I haven't been in a long time. So I think just for that, for me personally, would put Starfield over the top as far as the biggest no. But I understand Hogwarts, Hi-Fi, both great games that deserve more recognition, I think. So Umber, we're gonna go with you, bro. What choice did you make? Which ones you pick, bro?
Well, for me, Cap actually picked exactly what Logan, he picked exactly what I was going to say, which is a Hogwarts Legacy. And I believe it or not, and I think you hit it on the head too, PTK. I think both of you are dead on. For me, I'm not mad that, for instance, just to speak on what you guys, and I'll pick a different one, but just to speak on what you said, PTK, Starfield was the most scrutinized. There is no question. They were, like you said, it was placed against every other game. We know a lot of our Hoove brothers. Cap, you new to me. I call the ponies, as they would call them. I call them more affectionately the Hooved brothers. I think it sounds a little nicer. I don't know. But I got a lot of different adjectives though. Hooved hijinks, Hooved hysterics. So anyway, but I think that Starfield was unfairly scrutinized. I think it was unfairly judged and rated as well. I ultimately came to an 85 for my score though. So I'm not even mad that it didn't get a nomination for Game of the Year, but just to see one nomination tells me that they, it was kind of scrutinized in a way to the point where it undermined its success all around. I will definitely agree. And then I look at the ones that made it. I look at Spider-Man 2, which I also came to an 85. Might be a little bit lower if I actually really, really think on it, because I didn't like a lot of the things inside of it. Gameplay good, web swinging and such like that, and combat is solid. However, that story is a mess. I don't like the Mary Jane missions, etc., etc. So I can go on, but I'm not even going to go in that direction. With Hogwarts, there's no way in the world that game sold as much as it did. I believe 12 million in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
It's
like over 20, I think, at this point, right? Isn't it?
Yeah, it should be close, if not, and that's within. That, like you said, that's close to the PS2 number. PlayStation numbers of a first party game of a God of War or something like that. So for that to get like that, and we knew it was snubbed. A lot of the wannabe activists were hating on that game well before it came out. Oh, if you get this, you're this, you're homophobic. It's like, how? So it had a lot of nonsense misguided toward it and toward these developers who had nothing to do with the hate they're trying to place toward J.K. Rowling and placed on that game. Like, we know that it's her license, ultimately it's her IP. She created that world that they're using. But that had nothing to do with them. So I that was just nonsense. And I actually talked with Paris about that. If you all didn't see it, we were on Boom's podcast this past Tuesday. And I mentioned that to him. I said, so because Paris was he had one of the votes. He's made it up there to him. So shout out to Paris. But
shout out to Paris.
Yeah, and he made mention of that and said, it's not that it didn't get voted. It probably just didn't get enough votes to make the list. And I'm like, yeah, but how's that happen?
Look at all the boxes. Look at the boxes that check. Like, if you're gonna hand me, and we can all attest to this, if you handed me a checklist, I don't know the format and how the format, maybe it was some type of like survey they were giving where they just checked off boxes. But if you were to give me a paper and I was to write down just everybody's like general Game of the Year qualifications, just a general, maybe 5 to 10 general, I think it would check a majority of those boxes, if not all of them.
Yeah, it had to be a few. Yeah. Music, accessibility, had a lot of great accessibility options. A lot, like Last of Us 2 level type accessibility options. You had great visuals, you had great storytelling, you had a creative like world, like they could have.
You even had the third person action adventure. You had all
of that. All of that. Hogwarts was my early, outside of Hi-Fi Rush. Hogwarts was my early Game of the Year. So it shifted around this year because there was so many great games. I'm not mad at the 6 that are nominated.
Yeah.
However, Resident Evil 4 shouldn't be there because I don't believe remakes should be there.
We're going to get into that. You're a little early.
I figured we would. So so my thing is, I agree with both of you guys on that. For me, I'll move to best ongoing. No way in the world should Halo, Sea of Thieves, You can even make a case for Battlefield. None of those should have been snubbed for Cyberpunk, and I love Cyberpunk. I loved it. I've talked with you guys before about this. I believe I know I've said it on other podcasts, but I put like 450 hours into Cyberpunk before it was patched and all that. So I loved it. Nowhere in the world does that game deserve best ongoing because they did stuff. And well, I even saw somebody who was arguing, well, they did this and they patched this in and
They're making it up as they go on, bro.
Yeah, it's crazy.
right. So I'm supposed to reward them because they put in things
No.
that should have been there when the game released.
Bruh.
No.
We're supposed to have multiplayer. We're supposed to have 2 DLCs.
See,
And again,
getting triggered.
Cyberpunk is a goat.
You guys are triggering me real quick.
It's not an ongoing game. It's not a live service game.
At
It's
all.
not
Not
an
at
ongoing
all.
game.
Not at
That's-
all.
That you could have stopped there, Pong. You didn't even have to get into other stuff. It's just not a live. It's not a live service ongoing. It doesn't work like that.
Mhm.
So
Exactly.
why would it be put in that category?
It's a very weird, like a few
Yeah.
of these categories are off, and I don't know we'll get into them, but it's just that one right there.
Well, you
got
know they
me.
did put Forza in the sports category one year, right? So
Yeah, I mean they got it in there again this year. To be
again
fair,
this year, so
Logan, what's your thoughts on that? Go
Oh,
ahead.
just
wanna
like
hear
the feelings that I had about like best ongoing and stuff
Mhm.
always seem to be like the same things that are whatever happens, and I'm projecting here, whatever happens to be hitting the SEO for these
Mhm.
websites,
Yep.
and it's in mind. Because I'm looking at like Fallout 76.
Mhm.
They had 3 months of nonstop events kicked out for the start of their last season. That game's 5 years old.
Mm.
It's closing in on the 5-year anniversary this month, and it just happened. No mention of that whatsoever. One of the best communities I've ever experienced.
Yeah.
Absolutely, hands down, complete strangers helping you out when you're brand new, welcoming you in, helping set up your house, teach you how to do things, help you out with events and stuff like that. So when I see like the list of like best ongoing games or best community support and stuff, I'm like, there are a lot of really good games that go completely under the radar because
true.
they're not SEO tagging for these outlets that are voting.
That
on this
doesn't
stuff.
happen, Logan. That doesn't happen. That's not how they do any of this, sir. That's not how they do
Internet
any
telling.
of this.
The truth of the matter, I think, really is, and again, I feel like I'm stretching here, so feel free to check me on this.
No.
It's whatever people have a remembrance of, and to be perfectly honest,
Recently
No Man's
biased.
Sky is like continuously getting updates and stuff like that,
Yeah.
but it doesn't need to be on the same list. Like, yes, they are putting out updates. Yes, they are continuing support and stuff like that, but it doesn't need to be constantly like added to the list of best ongoing game every single year. We get it. No Man's Sky is getting updates. So are a bunch of other games.
I didn't even catch that. That's hilarious. You're right.
Oh, yeah.
This is like
Oh,
the
yeah.
third or fourth time No Man's Sky has been in that category. You're right. I didn't even catch that. Wow.
There's other games too, like Path of Exile, that continuously
Yeah,
get
like,
updated and
what?
get new content
Yeah.
that never get any
That's a
credit
good point.
for what
Path
they
of
do.
Exile been doing it for 10 years, right,
10
Paul?
years.
Correct.
Yeah, yep,
Correct. They
yep,
never get
yep.
credit. Why? Because it's free to play and because people don't talk about it outside of that community.
Yeah.
It doesn't get a whole lot of coverage, right? So, like Logan said, that's what it's all about at the end of the
Destiny's
day.
going
Well,
through
the-
probably one of the worst times in its history, and it got on the list.
Not
You know
not
what I
just
mean?
that. With the whole thing with Destiny, this last year of seasons between Destiny and Division had more support than Destiny. So get the F out of here with that Destiny on that list. Like seriously. Like I've played both a lot of hours, a lot more in Division, but we've been crying about support for the Division, and the Division got more support this year than Destiny. I challenge anybody to prove me wrong. I challenge anybody to prove me
You're
wrong.
absolutely correct, Fuzz. You want recency, you want stuff that's going on right now. Battlefield 2042. Why is that not in there? Now hitting record numbers for concurrent players. They've brought that game back from the brink of death.
Yep.
And then now hitting record numbers again because of ongoing support for the game. They got ripped when it came out. They got absolutely criticized, as they should have, but they have worked tirelessly and not stopped. And now the game is hitting peak numbers again. Where's that?
Same
No
thing
credit.
with Halo. Same thing with Halo, right?
Yeah, Halo Infinite is
same
the
thing.
other big one.
Phoenix out of the ashes, right? They threw that bitch in the trash when it came out. The internet said, "Nope, we don't want this." Well, leave it up to Twitter or whatever the case may be. And now the game is consistently. This is the best season it's coming off, or currently, and probably the best season that it's ever had. Numbers are going up. Like it's only getting better. The future's looking more and more bright every time there's an update. Like you gotta give some type of credit to that. I know it's hard, you know what I mean, but like you gotta give credit to that. Like that makes much more sense than something like a No Man's Sky, it's already been a solid game for a few years now.
Well, not to say conspiracy theories, but you got to get the voting committee to have more than just a PlayStation and a PC in their household. I'll just be honest. Like, that's all it is.
No, it's the truth, Fuzz. It's the truth. Again, all you got to do is look at the amount of copies requested for PlayStation versus Xbox on any multi-plat game when it comes to reviews. It is a true statement. Again, there is so much proof to what we're going to talk about here.
Well, you might as well roll into it. We got
to get through this poll.
Okay.
Let's get through this poll. Let's get through this poll. Let's get through this poll. We'll get into it.
Okay. All right. So I know it was
Umbra just went.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry about that.
Oh,
did you? Yeah, go ahead, Umbra.
I'm sorry. Did I have more to go on this topic, or
no? If you we kind of rambled on.
He was 20 minutes in already, anyway. So
cut you off.
He was going to break down every category if we let him. So let's go.
All right, I guess we could probably
as far as the biggest stub, if I'm going to go to that.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's why I said best ongoing. And and Pong eventually said what I said, of course, with Battlefield and all that. I'm not even going to go off that. Listen, you could. I throw that seed out there. I throw that little alley oop. I expect you to.
Oh my God, that. He's still trying to take credit for this. Oh my God, we are on a new level, folks. We are on a new. Okay, all right.
But for me, if I'm personally, at least on a personal level, I would say Halo Infinite, just because I have loved Halo Infinite pretty much from the beginning, but I can acknowledge the faults, right? So they had faults, but these past 2 seasons, especially them correcting a lot of issues the game has had, and now they're even working toward correcting the desync, which will probably be fixed within the next season or 2. You got to give them credit. Pierre, since he stepped in, I think it's been a lot of a big turnaround there. Excuse me, and what they're doing, and I really appreciate them for it. If I had to say best ongoing for me personally, it would be Halo Infinite. But to Pong's point, if we were to be like really look past it into Captain Logan's point too, and look past the SEO, like he said, something like Battlefield, which should get its recognition because it had like he said, record turnaround with numbers and such. That doesn't just happen. So those things like that should definitely get recognition. It should not just be glossed over and then put a game that shouldn't be there, like Cyberpunk. That kind of tells me that it tells us rather that the system is flawed in how they do what they do and who they select for what they select. I mean, we already know a few other categories that are out of whack. So I won't go into it because I know it's coming up, but it just needs to be some corrections going on in how they do what they do.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's throw this over to you, Fuzz. Get your opinion, man, on this poll of the week. Once again, had a few different options, brother. So all of them, there's a lot. There's it's a tough list. It's a tough list. So, but go ahead.
I mean, I agree with everybody's viewpoint as far as the Hogwarts Legacy, because it didn't get nominated for anything. It's like it didn't exist. They purposely shunned that game for reasons it's already been talked about. But I voted for Starfield just because that was the more recent in my mind, and I guess I had too much faith in Keighley and that group.
I think I did too.
to kind of realize that doing an exclusion of Starfield was probably not the right move going forward, considering the platform is on the rise for the next few years and probably the next couple of generations even. So I didn't think that they would want to create that vacuum where next year there's going to be 4+ titles that will probably be nomination worthy from that platform, and start off with ignoring at least one of the 2 main ones for that category. That, I mean, I understand Forza is never going to really go into that game of the year category kind of thing, but between Hi-Fi Rush and Starfield, those were worthy candidates. And then if we're going to look at like their new acquisitions, and this was the one I brought up in the comments, I was like, I voted Starfield, but Diablo 4 should have definitely been on there. And I know some people are like, oh, it's not doing anything, out of like extraordinary or anything like that, but I look at the overall story, the pacing, the interaction, the accessibility, the the fact that you could play it solo or in a group. It has a lot more range to it, and it did extremely well. Now, yes, the devs kind of stumbled a bit with the nerfs right after the release and stuff, but they've worked on getting that back, and that's another one that could probably be for the ongoing and stuff like that. But we'll see how that goes for next year. But Diablo was one that I feel should have been on that list. Like, if anything, I just look squarely at Resident Evil, because there was that question if they would put two Nintendo ones up there, and a lot of us
They
kind of
did.
thought that they might, and there was
They
a debate
did.
on whether if they
Yeah.
only pick one Nintendo one, would they really pick Wonder over Tears of
Zelda.
the Kingdom and stuff like that. But I understand both of them being there. But for me, it's not that RE wasn't a worthy of some sort of nomination. It's just that for Game of the Year, when it's a remake or like, yeah, basically it's a remake at that point. I don't know. I think remakes should have its own category or expand it to include remakes, like instead of just having it open to 6, or just make a remake category or something to that extent.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Definitely all of the choices are valid. Hogwarts Legacy was definitely snubbed, but I just went with my heart as far as voting
Mhm.
for Starfield and then mentioning Diablo 4. Those are the two that stood more forefront of my mind. So that's
I want to ask all four of you a question, because I know we brought this up, Pong, Fuzz. I know you guys will remember this, maybe even Logan and Umbra, about him possibly expanding from 6 to 8. Now, I don't know if he how do you guys think he even thought about that at all? Like, you guys think that like somebody maybe even brought it to him, that was even a thought?
Oh yeah. Yeah,
You
I'm
think he
sure
thought
there
about
was
it?
I think there was conversations this year where they were definitely like, how do we approach a year this big, and what's the best way to go about it? And I think the trouble is it's already hard enough to narrow it down to 6. Adding like 2 additional ones would be more like a kind of a celebration, because regardless of how many nominees there are, only one's
gonna
win.
win. Yeah, I get that. Yeah. Yeah, no. Okay.
Yeah, that, and I think it's kind of politics at the end of the day. I mean, we know it is, and it's a big commercial for gaming, and I mean that's how Jeff treats it anyway. You see all these celebrities he tries to bring through, who forgets Al Pacino. She's got a great ass coming through, and him subsequently standing there for 18 years waiting for old boy to finish his speech. But my thing is though, yeah, it's all political. So like Hogwarts itself, that's all political. We said it earlier in the year when we saw the controversy behind it. There was no way they were going to bring that to the awards. We already knew that.
I didn't think it wouldn't get anything though.
I didn't think it would be this dramatic.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think as far as the Game of the Year thing, when it's 6, I think 6 is fine. I'm not mad at that. I don't want them to do an 8 or whatever to make it like a all-inclusive thing. I'm fine with 6. I just think they need to be better with the people they select.
You feel like that would be more like participation trophies if you add 2 more?
A little bit, because they've already established it with 6.
Yeah.
So adding more, and plus it's going to be some years. Look at 2022. That was a drought. We didn't.
Yeah,
We're not
so-
going to have that for a long time. We're
No,
set up
that's
for
what
the
I'm
next 3
saying.
years at least. So
I
that's
don't
the
know,
difference.
man.
And if it ever came to that point, Umbra, he could bump it back to 6.
He could.
I mean,
But
I feel
also,
like
if
it's
he kept
fluid.
it at 8, even in those low years, smaller games would have a chance to get in and
See?
get their flowers as well. Again, I'm not the participation trophy guy either. I'm old school. Not everybody gets to win, okay? That's
Yeah.
not the case.
Yeah.
But I think that the way how much content is now coming out in this industry, I think it's worthy of more. I mean, the other award shows and other entertainment industries have increased their nominees. I think that the games are now at a point that they could obviously fit a couple more in there. I really do, without watering it down, without it becoming or feeling like a participation trophy. Logan's point to only one winner is correct, but
That's
there's
true, yeah.
there's still some acknowledgement and some credit that's given to be a nominee at the end of the day. And it is still a big deal for the dev teams, right? So I just think that a couple more wouldn't have made a difference to do it, especially this year with how stacked it was. I just thought it would be a good idea.
I Go ahead, Umber.
I was gonna say, for instance, the Oscars. I know they had I think 10 nominees for the best picture. For instance, that's the equivalent of game of the year, right?
Yeah.
So I can see that that thought process.
But there's way more games than there are movies each year.
Mm-hmm.
And absolutely. So I can definitely get that thought process. I just feel like there aren't enough games sometimes. At least this year is to me is an outlier. I don't think we're going to continuously get.
Yes, we are.
Oh, these are 18 game of the year type
Yes,
games.
we
Wait
are.
a minute, you forgot who
Bro,
Paul
yes,
was.
yes,
You
we
forgot who
are,
Paul
sir.
was.
Next year's
That's
already
fair.
lined up with at least 4 or 5 out the gate right now that we are aware of.
That's what I'm saying. So I don't.
Yeah.
But that's next year and this year. We
And then
don't know how
2025
is going to be. We don't
Oh,
know.
yeah, we do.
2026. We don't know.
Oh, yeah, we
20
do.
We don't though. We know of games that could.
We know
bring.
Xbox is going to have 4 per year at least.
That well, we hope so. We don't know what happens.
We do. We know
The
so.
difference-
sir.
Well, we don't because they could get delayed. It could be any incident that happens. I'm hoping they all land, but there could be any number of incidents that happen. And even if it's 4 of them, not all 4 of those games are going to make it. See what I mean? So let's just say it is 4
Why not?
Xbox games. Let's go to that
I'm just-
logic. Does that mean that all 4 of those are going to land? We know that's not going to happen with Xbox. So we talk about the Xbox tax. You think all 4 of those are going to make it the game of the year?
Okay.
Never.
All right.
That's why I say,
I don't
like,
know, man.
to me, we don't know how many games of these caliber of the. This again, this year is an outlier. We have 90 plus. Like it's got to be at least 10 90 plus games I can think of.
Easy.
So that's what I'm saying. Like I think this is an outlier. I think that's why we had debates about this being similar to 2007 because this.
Mark this down, PTK. I want him back next year around this
Okay.
time, and we're going to talk again. Okay.
I'll bring me back.
Okay,
The funny part
y'all,
is
you
we
chat, you
already
guys hear that,
know-
But I
right?
already acknowledged 2024. I already know 2024.
Okay. 2025, we're going to have you
Bring me
back.
back
over again.
2025. There you go.
Well, the real funny thing with 2024 is we already see that remakes can be nominated, and remake
Oh,
just got
boy.
announced. So it's definitely going to
Why
be
not?
Shout out to the
Is
last
that a remake?
overpacked feel, even with remakes being added in there too. So
Oh,
we'll see how it
remasters
goes.
are going to make it now, Fuzzy.
I feel
Yeah,
like
The
yeah,
that's,
remasters,
I feel like
so
that's
it's going to
a,
make it.
that's a
Crazy.
DLC
no way.
pack.
No way. There's no
Yeah,
way
an
that
ongoing
makes it.
game of the year
Crazy.
next year as well.
No way.
Don't-
I don't-
yeah. Oh, yeah.
I don't wanna
Absolutely.
hear- I don't-
They
I don't-
opened it up.
Listen,
They
I
opened
don't care
it up.
about that roguelike mode. I understand. Like, no, I'm not gonna say I don't care about it, but
My
that's not
tinfoil
enough.
hat tells me that's why RE got put in there, so it makes room, or it's like a precedence thing.
No way.
As
You
this
think
sets
they
the
thinking that
precedent,
far
that's
out?
a dangerous
Yeah,
precedent. He's right
has-
about
has
Keely
it-
knew
has
that
it
that
re-
was coming. Keely knew that was coming.
Has a remake ever been nominated for Game of the Year? Is this the first time?
You know, I need to
For
look into
Keely,
that.
yeah.
Can somebody?
No,
in
this
chat
is
check
the
that
first
out?
time, but there has been odd. We went back and looked as far as the Cyberpunk issue goes. CD Projekt Red and The Witcher for Blood and Wine actually got voted in as best RPG of that year. An
Oh,
expansion won best RPG.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So
Wow.
that
Okay,
this
got it.
precedent was set a while ago. Again, it's willy-nilly. It's just random. It's whatever the voters want. Like it's just like, okay, you guys think it's deserving, fine, put it in there. There's no way as much recognition as the expansions for Witcher got, there is no way you put that up for best RPG of that year. That's stupid. So, but they did it. So,
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I guess we're moving off that first topic, man, to get into the meat of the show. Even though we've kind of been there.
I didn't get my
anyway.
bars
You
off
didn't
yet.
get your-
No,
okay.
no, I know Umbra's
Get
been
your bars off.
again. This is the
Get your bars
problem with
off.
Umbra.
You see how you keep trying to shift
Like
the
I
blame to me?
said, I could have put myself on mute tonight and you guys would have had a regular show. Okay. This is how Umbra does. All right. Let's see. here.
Go ahead.
All right.
Go ahead, Paul.
Hogwarts Legacy is the biggest snub, hands down, without question. Hogwarts Legacy, this snub takes away any legitimacy or integrity that Keely was trying to build into these awards. Because once you do this to this game, and I'm not just talking about the game of the year, I'm talking about across the board, that it got 0 nominations. If it wasn't up for game of the year, but it got other nominations and other rightful spots, fine. I would have not had a problem with it. I would not have considered it a snub because of how strong this year was. But now that they've gone and done this, and we're going to talk about, I'm sure we're going to get into the subject of bias and all this kind of stuff maybe. This right here is the biggest proof that you ever need. This shuts down any other conversations, in my point of view, about people who want to say this is a neutral industry, that there is no bias, that nobody is going to not vote for games because they don't like a certain, developer, publisher, company. Bullshit. Call it right now. This proves everything. And whatever Keeley is trying to build over there, and I've given him his flowers for what he's done for the industry, for raising it up. He's made these statements about his game awards are a celebration of the games industry. They're a celebration of not just the games themselves, but of the people behind the games and about the fans. And if you're going to tell me that you have a group of 120 people, and I'm not going to call them all out because it's not all of them. It's never an absolute, but a majority of that 120 took it upon themselves to instead sit up there and be judge, jury, and executioner of a dev team in Avalanche Software, who went way beyond anything they've ever done and created a fantastic game with incredible pressure on them.
Can I say something real quick?
Go ahead.
People talk about Larian punching above their weight with BG3. No, Avalanche did with Hogwarts.
Avalanche
Go
did.
look at the leap
So true.
that they made between their previous game versus Hogwarts Legacy. That's, in my opinion, that's an even bigger leap than BG3. That's just me. I may be in the minority, but that was extremely impressive.
No,
And
you're
you gotta
correct.
give them credit for that. Like, it's almost like it almost never happens, bro. It almost never happens.
So they already were under tremendous pressure with this IP for all the reasons why it didn't get voted on, but also because this is still one of the world's biggest IPs out there. Hence why it is the number one seller of the year. Obviously, they made a great game that pushed it to that number one spot, but this is one of the favorite IPs of people across the world of all ages. They had extreme pressure on them. This group of individuals, the majority of this group, decided to take it upon themselves to not celebrate that team because of the original creator who had nothing to do with this. I don't care if she gets paid off royalties. She had nothing to do with this project. In fact, some of the wrongs that they want to point out about her, that they believe are wrong about her opinions, this team righted in this game. So the simple fact is that Keeley can no longer stand up there with a straight face and tell me, and I'm talking about me, this is my personal feelings, I'm not going to speak for anybody else on this, but he's never going to try to tell me again that he created the awards to be a celebration of the games industry as a whole. He's never going to sit there and tell me that and have me believe him in any way, shape, or form. And if he ever wants to try to start legitimizing this awards even more so, if he actually went out of his way to finally start making things transparent, maybe showing the gamers and the wider public the actual guidelines and rules that he has for the supposed awards, it still won't matter to me because Hogwarts Legacy proves that there is bias in this industry and that these media types, these professionals, as they are called, actually do take it upon themselves to swing the scales of justice in the way that they believe it needs to be swung. And if you don't believe for a second that this does not indicate that there certainly could be a majority who have a problem with certain companies, certain devs, certain IP, certain publishers, to swing that also when it comes to reviews, when it comes to voting for awards, you are dead wrong. And I will tell you that. This 100% proves it. So for me, Hogwarts Legacy is the snub. It is the snub of the generation. It will be the snub that I will forever remember when it comes to these types of award ceremonies. There are a lot of other snubs to go through in these lists. There are plenty of things that I question here, but this is the biggest one because it was complete. It was a blackout of this game 1,000%. They locked it out.
There's no way you can tell me that they sat up and looked at any kind of metrics involving any game this year and you didn't see that game at the top of a majority of them and said, oh no, and just ignore it. Like, that's egregious that you just
Correct.
you completely act like there's no way you had 120 people sitting in that room and 90 or 100 of them decided, you know what, Hogwarts, that wasn't it. Like, there's no way, like, by what measure? What were you looking at? What kind of data were we taking into account here? Because if you look at it just from a game standpoint, it checks off every box plus some, regarding, as far as game of the year and what that should look like for a majority of the people that watch these award shows. So it's egregious and it's
Yes.
blatant. I think that's what the issue is for me. It's clearly
100%.
obvious that it was a politically driven decision, and it sucks that team's not going to get the recognition that they deserve.
Correct. 100%, because Avalanche Software deserves all their flowers and more for what they put together in that game. And again, the fact that team went out of their way to address some of the issues that people have with the original creator of the IP, J.K. Rowling, the fact that they went out of their way to include some stuff in that game to show their support for that side of things should have 100% be the reason why they should have overlooked their personal feelings, their personal vendetta, their personal agenda against her and said, you know what, this team did it. And they deserve some credit. And again, if it wasn't in the Game of the Year awards, I wouldn't have blinked. I would have said, yeah, it was one of those great games this year. There's just so many great games. But there is no way you can't tell me it's not deserving in multiple other categories. And again, that's just where I'm at with it. I can't stand this.
I think most of us are in agreement with Hogwarts.
Yeah,
and I'll go further, and it's going to sound more controversial. I've actually had debates with people in the trans community who would like. I made a tweet rather that I was like, "Hey, I'm sorry they snubbed you guys." This was to the team of Hogwarts and Avalanche. I said, "I'm sorry they snubbed you guys. You absolutely should have been nominated for some things," and blah blah blah. People. Somebody from the trans community. I just went to go look at their profile just to see, because they just laughed like LOL. And I'm like, oh wait. I go look at the profile, sure enough, trans, he, she. I'm like, of course. So and the reason I'm saying this here is because going to your point, Pong, where they put in things that didn't even make sense. I'm not trying to sugarcoat it. A trans person even being in Hogwarts at that time, it's like, where would that have existed back then where they're at? They went out of their way to be inclusive and still were punished. So I find that, and I think when they have to go and bend over backward to do that, because there were several actual situations with that. There was a gay couple in Hogwarts, the lady teacher that you find out in the field. There was the trans person you meet at that little town in the bar. That you do a mission for. There were a few actually, more than that if I really think about it. But they went out of their way to be inclusive. And on top of that, I'll say this, and to go to your point, this right here not only points to the thought, at least, that there is an Xbox tax, because if these people can collude together to say we're not going to give this anything, what is to say that many of them couldn't do the same to say we're not going to nominate anything for Xbox or for whomever, like you said. And then that's where it needs to come down to be a change. Somebody on Boom's podcast, I forgot who the person was, they gave a super chat and they said there should be something like a 30-30-30 split, when it concerns Nintendo, PlayStation, and Microsoft. And I kind of agree with that, but more of a 40-40-40, right? Because it's 120 votes. 40 for Xbox, 40 for PlayStation, 40 for Nintendo when it comes to nominating any first party game. So there isn't any wave ignoring any other positions of games from any other platform. And I think there needs to be some type of revision in how they do what they do. Like you said, I can't trust this award show. That's why I'm not even, a lot of people were so upset and pushing the whole Xbox tax thing. I didn't really push it that way. Because for me, Xbox tax is an unconscious bias with a lot of these guys. A lot of people seem to ignore the thought that a lot of these journalists, these game journalists and such, and people who play the games and do podcasts, a lot of them grew up on PlayStation and Nintendo. So, and in their heads, those are the, de facto platforms. Microsoft and Xbox is the usurper.
Windows Office.
It's a cool kids club, and Microsoft still isn't included.
That's what it is.
That's what it comes down. Again, we can get into it more. There's a lot there, but again, Hogwarts to me just nobody can tell me that there's not bias. Hogwarts 100% is dead proof that there is.
Oh, absolutely.
1000%. And whether it's conscious or unconscious, the question only remains, and this is what's the only part that's debatable, is how much does it sway things? How much does it really factor in? Right? That's the only question that you can have discussion wise. But you have to acknowledge that there is bias, that potentially does affect certain companies, certain IP, certain publishers, certain devs. That's all there is now, because again, Hogwarts proves it without any shadow of a doubt.
Yep.
Right now.
And that right there, that's a good point too, because that right there, we talk about the whole dangerous precedent being set with Resident Evil 4 remake being put there, because it opens that door. Fuzzy, you might be right, that Fuzzy, that might be tinfoil kufi on. That might just be why they put that in there. So, oh look, Last of Us 2 remastered, game of the year. But beside that point, it sets a dangerous precedent, because it undermines the credibility of the awards all the way. A lot of us didn't care for them already. This definitely, I think, shuts that door, because now it tells us that definitely you all are not to be trusted. You all will put things there that go along with your agenda or with your politics, and that right there is not fair.
Yeah, it's just crazy to see, and we're definitely gonna get into this. We might as well just go ahead and just transition into the meat of the show, like I was saying. So obviously, I said, telling you guys earlier, you're looking at the thumbnail, we're talking about the game awards coming up here pretty soon, and we're probably not gonna get to all the categories. I'll just go through like some of the main ones, and we'll kind of go down the list, and we'll all kind of talk about it and see where we're at with some of the nominees. But yeah, it's one of those crazy things. Pong, I do share the same sentiment regarding the overall show. I do think, and the show, I know he changes it. It gets a little bit better every year. That's something that he definitely needs to look at. The voting system, maybe they can revise it, make some changes there. But let me go ahead and just get into some of these categories. And once again, chat, we love for you guys to participate as well too, man. We got a lot of cool stuff. They got a lot of categories, but I want to get into some of the ones that are a little bit more, I don't know, maybe a little bit more important for all of us here. So let me start with, we already did kind of game of the year, and I know we're going to double back to that because it's such a huge category. And it's probably the biggest category by far in the show, and that's what most people watch the show for. But we'll get into a couple of these other ones. Let me see here. What do you want to start with, man? What can we start with? Best RPG.
I was going to say jokingly, we could start with the esports coach, which they nominated.
Oh, that's funny.
The guy that wasn't even the coach for the year. But,
that's hilarious too. That's hilarious.
Best RPG would be a good start.
Yeah, we can do that. So nominees for best RPG, we had Baldur's Gate 3, Final Fantasy 16, Liza P, Sea of Stars, and Starfield. Really, really, really tough category. We're gonna start with you, Logan. I don't know if you've thought about this at all. We just throwing you into a fire at this point.
No, it's cool. It's a weird one because I don't really know why Liza P is
that's kind of crazy.
I don't know why Final Fantasy 16 is in there anymore, Logan.
That's true. That's an action adventure game. More than an RPG.
It's an adventure game now, man. It's not. Again, Final Fantasy 7, the remake, definitely is RPG. But 16, no. But again, never. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump on that.
But I mean, you're right? Like when I look at this list, I'm like, well, those two are out for me because and it feels like those are kind of like, how do we give the roses to a couple of the games that didn't make it on the game of the year list? And it feels like this is one of those ways that people are like, oh, well, we picked our game of the year, but we really want to make sure that some of these other titles get some recognition as well too. So this is where it's like, oh, well, we'll put little Liza P in the RPG category because there's no From Software category on which is the best FromSoft game not made by FromSoft. But I have not played Baldur's Gate. I'm waiting for the Xbox release, and to be honest, it's not even my type of game because I'm not a turn-based combat guy at all.
Man. Me either.
For me, I really like, it's between Sea of Stars and Starfield for me, because I think Sea of Stars does exactly what it's intending to do, which is to really kind of build something new while also showing reverence for a lot of the old 90s kind of 2D traditional RPG games. And to me, that's a beautiful thing because you don't see companies really striving to do that too often. Like Octopath Traveler's one of the other standouts in my mind. And didn't Octopath Traveler 2 come out this year?
Yep.
Yes,
That was another one people were
gigantic
saying
snub.
that didn't get voted as well. Yep.
What the F?
Yeah.
Why is Liza P on here and not Octopath Traveler 2? Like, of all the
Yeah,
of all
why
the
is Final
things,
Fantasy 16 there and not that?
Yeah.
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 there's so many games that came out. It's not like there's a lack of games where you're like, I don't know, maybe we just throw something in there because it's not like a lot came out this year. It's like, no, every category was well represented this year. Even the fighting category was well represented this year. And still, I see weird stuff like this. So I personally, just based on the way that New Game Plus was approached, is so fresh and innovative in my mind that it has to go to Starfield for RPG, because
Awesome.
it finally it does something that doesn't just give you a reason to like, oh, I'm going to play through it because I want to finish off the gear that I was working on, or I want to bump up the ability points that I have. It's like, no, there's story and purpose behind the New Game Plus that I've never seen with another game before. And that to me is what puts it into that category of like, this is pushing the industry forward on how we can take things that people already want, but consider that in the actual development process of it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I guess I'll throw mine in here. Like I said, I didn't play BG3. I know a lot of people are probably gonna win. In all honesty, I feel like it's the darling of this year. It's gonna be tough. Like it might go around and win about 5 or 6 or whatever. You know, I think it's nominated like 6 or 7 times, something like that. But outside of BG3, Final Fantasy 16 doesn't count in my opinion as well. Liza P does not count. So, like you said, it was Sea of Stars or Starfield. I'm going Starfield for the reasons I stated earlier. I'm not the biggest RPG fan, but I fell into Starfield. It made me feel a way about a single player RPG that I've never felt in my life, playing a single player game. And that's including Halo and all these other games. Like, I fell into the game. It did something so creative. It was a massive game. I felt like it actually over delivered on what I thought the game would be. And once again, I'm a new Bethesda fan, so I'm coming in wet behind the ears to this experience. So for me, it was just that, I don't say life changing, but I had that great of an experience with that game. And like I said, I didn't even make it to New Game Plus yet, but just the features, what you can do, the idea of the game, you know what I mean? Like, they really push fucking boundaries. Like, I isn't that kind of why we're here? Isn't that what video games are supposed to do? Like, I don't feel like that gets rewarded anymore. And it's the weirdest thing to me. Like, what other, you can't even, there's the only game we're comparing Starfield to is a game with almost $1 billion Kickstarter. You know what I mean? Like Star Citizen. Like, so that's the only game. So it's just amazing what they were able to pull off, especially on a console. The release was fairly smooth, as large as the game was, as many people jumped on. It was about the smoothest release we've had of a AAA this year. No real issues. There was some here and there, so you can throw that as a feather in their cap as well too. But I just had such a phenomenal experience with Starfield that I think, in my opinion, is easily RPG of the year. So we'll throw this over to you, Umber.
Yeah, for me, I look at this category too, and we talked about Game of the Year having 6. This only has 5 nominees.
That's true.
Why is that?
So wait, is you taking us back to the other?
Yeah.
I didn't even notice that right away. I didn't even catch that.
The smaller categories have 5
Yeah.
instead of
Well,
6.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be
But
wouldn't it just be better to be uniform across the board?
And I guess you can kind of do it as need be, right? For instance,
what's wrong?
So then
that takes
we
us back
should
to
add it
8.
too.
So
That's what I'm saying. Like,
I was going to say, so going to Pong's point and to Cap's point, if you're going to, increase or decrease, why not increase it when you have more viable, components there? For instance, like Captain pointed out, Octopath Traveler 2. I love Octopath Traveler 1, by the way. Another game I put considerable amount of time, 250 hours, I believe, in that one. So yeah, why not include more when it comes to that? Or if you're going to be very selective, clearly Final Fantasy 16 is an action game. It's not an RPG. Anybody who really fairly reviewed it said so and pointed that out. And that's not a diminish to that
no,
IP.
not at
It's
all.
just the truth. Same with Liza P. Is closer to
Souls-like.
action. than it is to, RPG. So it comes down to Baldur's Gate 3, Sea of Stars, and Starfield. But if I had to say between the three, and I haven't played BG3 yet either, and I'm waiting for it to come to Xbox as well. So I can't really give a fair assessment of what I believe should win this. But from the two I did, or the two that actually should be here that I played between Starfield and Sea of Stars, loved them both. I'm also not the biggest turn-based type of gamer either. Sea of Stars is excellent. Sea of Stars deserves some type of love. I hope it wins something. It won't win this because BG3 is there. So I feel you where you're coming from too, PTK, when you talk about the experience you got from Starfield. I feel it, being a long time Bethesda fan, I still have yet to get that feeling I got when I walked out of that prison cave system in Oblivion. Still haven't. I've yet to get that wow moment from any Bethesda game but that. So I think this was your wow moment for you when you stepped into this.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So I understand exactly where you're coming from. I do love a lot of things they did with Starfield, but it came short in some other ways for me too, which is why I went down to an 85. So if I had to pick between these two, I would give it to Sea of Stars just on a basic RPG level. As far as what I think will win it, BG3 likely, because like you pointed out, it's the darling right here. And most people I think are attuned to give them multiple wins in some categories anyway. So I think BG3 will ultimately win. I have a problem with the selections they have here, and maybe they should have included more people. That's what I would say.
Okay.
Or more games, rather.
That's fair.
No,
No, that's 100% fair. I didn't, and like I said, I didn't even catch it that it was only 5 right away. That is kind of once again, just doing stuff as you go, depending on what the category is, which is interesting. But let's go ahead and throw this over to you, Pong. You're a big RPG fan. I feel like I know where you're going with this. I could be surprised, but which one for you?
Well, I mean, if we're doing predictions for the voting, right? If we're doing that, then if Baldur's Gate 3 is going to win Game of the Year, as I think it will, then why wouldn't it win this category? Again, it's going to sweep. Now, we've seen award shows where they give, whether it's best movie or whatever else, and then they, throw some crumbs at something else to give it its flowers in a different category, even if it's up against the same type of the same winner. So that could go one of two ways. If they don't do that and they're going to give flowers to a game, they're going to snub Starfield again, and they're going to give it to Final Fantasy 16 in this category. There is no doubt in my mind that's what the majority will do. So that's my prediction there. Again, Baldur's Gate 3 should win it if it's going to win Game of the Year. But again, if they're going to throw some crumbs, I'm going to say Final Fantasy 16. Now, personally, of course, again, Starfield, unlike Umbra, as a Bethesda fan, as Elder Scrolls is my favorite franchise of all time, Starfield had big shoes to jump into. And being that I like high fantasy just a tad bit more than I do sci-fi, it had another leap. It made both of those leaps. This is now my favorite game of all time. It's a game of generation for me. It's a masterpiece in my eyes. The things that Umbra found missing, I found in this game more times than I had found in any other Bethesda title before it. So my experience was a little bit different than his. So of course, for me personally, Starfield takes this category for me because absolutely it should be. Bethesda still makes the most unique, the most original type of Western RPG there is to this day. They are still the masters at the sandbox. Nobody does it as well as them. There have been people that have tried. There are people that are coming closer and closer. CD Projekt Red with Cyberpunk. But talk about pushing your own standards to a new level and innovating on what you've already created even more so, even if it meant that portions of your fan base didn't like it or didn't appreciate it as much as they appreciated your other games. Bethesda took everything that they do and bumped it up a notch with Creation Engine 2.0 and putting new mechanics in there, then introduced new stuff like shipbuilding, which has become an addiction for me, which is absolutely, it feels like a game unto itself. And they obviously worked a ton on, and then took other aspects that were lacking in their previous games, like gunplay, refined them over and over again, to make it feel well. Let's not even talk about the space combat that they've done for the first time ever. They've done space combat, and that game does it better than probably 75-80% of space games out there to date. This is an incredible achievement for Bethesda. I wish things were different, obviously, when it comes to awards, because, you know, personally, as somebody who does enjoy a game, I want to see it get the flowers that it deserves. I want to see it up for awards, even if at the end of the day it doesn't affect my experience and my feelings on it. I still want to see them get their flowers. But yeah, personally, I would give it to Starfield hand over fist on this one. I mean, it's not even close.
Okay. All right. Let's throw this over to you, Fuzz. Where you at on this, brother?
Just looking at the category, I'm like, where's Diablo 4? I mean, I'm not, if I'm not mistaken, Diablo 4 is a RPG or an ARPG, right?
Yeah, I mean,
am I right?
yeah.
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 It is. It is what Diablo is. What created the
action
ARPG.
Yeah.
So once again, some jankiness with their categories, but it is what it is. Like like you guys said, I think the committee will vote Baldur's Gate 3. I could see, like what Pong was saying, kind of like that crumbs trophy kind of thing, going to Final Fantasy, which I guess it's better to have Final Fantasy in there than Spider-Man, because I've seen people on social media argue that Spider-Man is an RPG for some stupid reason. I guess because you're playing the role of Spider-Man. Yeah. But
no.
Yeah.
You also played the role of
person-
John Wick with Mary Jane sections too.
No, but my personal pick was Starfield. There was just so many things to this game for me, as far as I did 3 simultaneous playthroughs at once. Actually, I bumped it up to 5 because 2 of them had some breaks. They didn't completely break the game, but I broke some stuff and decided to start 2 more playthroughs. And this game has so many different paths, to the point where that to me is like the epitome of a RPG, not just picking how your character plays the game or how you approach things, the different outcomes based on different choices and consequences based on those choices, or certain benefits based on your choices. So for me, Starfield was the RPG of the year, or would fit that RPG category to a T. I haven't played Baldur's Gate 3. Once again, I'm not a big turn-based RPG fan per se. I will probably wait till it comes to Xbox. There was a bit of FOMO for a while a few of the guys were playing on PC and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, you know, the cutscenes look great, the character build and creation and all that stuff looks great, and you know, everything, you know, for the first 2 acts, I guess, seemed like it was, you know, pretty much perfect. But hearing some of the backlash on Act 3 or some of the later stuff was like, yeah, it's probably better for me to wait, because probably by the time that you know, it comes to Xbox, those things will hopefully be worked out as well. But game doesn't have to be perfect for me to get the award or anything along those lines. But I just feel my vote would be for Starfield, but I know the committee is going to go Baldur's Gate 3. Like, everything that Baldur's Gate 3 is in should win, except, and people will probably argue at me on this, it should not win multiplayer. I mean, I understand, yes, co-op is multiplayer, but conventionally, when you think multiplayer, that's not the multiplayer that should be for an award show, or at least in my vision. But I'm pretty sure we can get into that later. But yeah, it's Baldur's Gate 3 is the clear darling. It is the Elden Ring of 2023, essentially. And it's a shame Starfield didn't come to PlayStation, considering the voting panels out there. So yeah, it is.
It's funny you say that. I actually had a talk with somebody, and I said I feel like if it had been on PlayStation, they probably would have got a more favorable views.
Yeah, I won't guarantee it, but it just feels that way. And where there's smoke, there's fire, as far as I look at it. So yeah, it would have probably fared better. I think some of the pushback, there was one particular journalist out there that made his opinion or his feelings known about the whole Bethesda acquisition. So, and he's probably had one of the bigger negative effects on the game review wise.
You're talking about
So,
Sterling, right?
Yeah. So it is what it is.
Nonsense
but,
like that is what brought about. See, he did the same for Hogwarts, by the way. Stuff like that really bothers me. And his review, by the way, matters too. It actually counts toward it.
And it has more of a weight with Metacritic and whatnot. So it's like, I guess in the grand scheme of things, maybe the big benefit of this is I know the general public or the casuals don't care about any of this stuff unless it says Game of the Year on the box, and they're like, "Oh, cool," But beyond that, I would hope that there would be, maybe some more options out there as far as award shows. But we can get into that later. But I rambled enough. I'm sorry.
No. It's a great point. So that was that. We're gonna wrap that particular category up. So that was best RPG. Once again, some funny stuff. Just a lot of the stuff we've been talking about. You'll see as we go through these categories, it's going to like show itself a little more. So great call out too about the 5 nominees in this particular category as well, because I didn't catch that right away. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw this over to Paul. We're gonna choose another category and then we'll go through that, and we'll just keep going until we get pretty much to the end of the show at this point.
Hey, PTK, can I speak to Fuzzy's comment real quick?
Yeah, go ahead, bro. Sure.
He made a really good point about how Starfield might have gotten more eyes if it had been on PlayStation. If it had been on PlayStation, it would have come out sooner and it wouldn't have been nearly as polished. And I think Microsoft should get a little bit of credit for taking on like Bethesda and the acquisition as a result of that, giving Starfield the time that it needed to be as good as it is now.
Good point, because not only did they take that on, they also took on the backlash, knowing that if we push this back because we know the game needs it, we're finna get all of this shit that comes with it. So
I think it depends though, PTK and Logan. I think I'm looking at it as if they would release it the exact time they did here on all platforms. You see what I mean? Now, if they had released it earlier, a year before her, for instance, then absolutely.
Well, wasn't the release date even earlier than we thought it was?
It was 11/11/22, wasn't it?
Yeah,
11/11. Yeah. So they moved it, they pushed it forward to this year. But I'm saying, like, imagine it just came out this year. I'm gonna say take it, but you're still right ultimately, because Microsoft gave them that time, extra money, of course, to do what they needed to do. In turn, we got the most polished Bethesda game we've had. But I would say, so if it released in 2022, it was actually, you probably can make an argument.
You would have won
that it probably
Game of the Year.
It could have been up for Game of the Year.
That's fair.
So that's funny too.
That's a good point, right?
I still think Elden Ring would have got him.
It would have won,
Darling, but But I think though, like, imagine Microsoft had not acquired Bethesda. Imagine that it was just all on all platforms, right? Or if Sony probably would have tried to get it for exclusive
for at least a little while. Too. Yeah.
So, but I imagine I'm looking at it past the point of Microsoft owning them and not being exclusive to PlayStation. I think the game would have got a much more favorable.
Definitely, I've never seen so much that level of discourse toward one game. I've never seen, like, this is months before the game even came out. I've never seen the level of like discourse, the amount of articles, the amount of videos, the amount of people on social media just making shit up. Like, this game is 8-9 months away from being out, and people are like, "Yeah, this is gonna be bad. Like, this is gonna be terrible." Like what do you have? Like, what are you basing this energy off of? Like, just maybe Bethesda's past, or like, where are we getting this from? You know what I mean? Like, I've never seen the level of discourse. Yeah, it's insane, the level of discourse.
You know what it is, PTK? It's funny you say that, because and I put it to this. Did you all see that tweet where I forgot, from Game Rant or somebody? They were like, "It's time to move past Call of Duty." Did you all see that?
Yeah, we saw. I saw that. Yep.
So, and a lot of people were like upset by that, and I get why they were, right. Like, I'm not going to be all on it, but I can think we can acknowledge this Modern Warfare 3 is not up to snuff in some ways, but a lot of people are loving the multiplayer. However, we can tell within 16 months of putting it out versus 3-year cycle that they usually have. Clearly, they put it out there quick, and I think it was to get past this contract with Sony. However, when you look at it that way, you can see, why is it suddenly now we need to move past it when they're associated with Microsoft? Yeah, that thought kind of pushes up to your top of your head.
Yeah.
And the same thing applies to me here when it comes to Bethesda. Now that they acquired, all of a sudden, will it be good? It got that Microsoft stink. They won't say that, but that's what it seems like they're alluding to. So I wonder if it's the whole Microsoft association that people suddenly become pessimistic. That's my wonder.
Crazy. Glass half
Yeah.
empty, right? All of a sudden. So I
Yeah.
understand. I understand. Let's get to these other categories, Pong. I know I'm gonna throw it over to you, man. We pick
Yeah.
another one, bro. Where we going?
Yeah, I'm going to do a category that most people probably wouldn't care too much
Okay.
about, but I've got to point out another massive snub here.
Okay.
And another point too. This is flat out. There's a reason why, or there is actual agenda behind it, because there's no way anybody can talk me out of this one at all. Best score in music, okay? Best score in music.
I knew you were gonna do this one. I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew it.
Yeah, absolutely. Best score in music. So for this category, the nominees are Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Final Fantasy 16, Hi-Fi Rush, and The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. Okay, listen to me. If you like orchestral music in your video games, I dare you to throw on Starfield by Enon Zur. I dare you to turn on that turn on that soundtrack, that score, and listen through it in its entirety, and tell me that should not be in here somewhere. Right? That has to be in here. I'm not saying anything against any of these games. Alan Wake 2, I haven't heard enough of the music to judge it yet. I'm not playing the game. It's on that horror level that I'm just not going to. Looks gorgeous. I've watched some people playing it, but I haven't heard enough of the score yet. I'll probably pull up on Spotify and listen to it. Baldur's Gate 3, fantastic. Great score. Great score. Final Fantasy 16, I've heard some of the music in that. Generally pretty damn good. Hi-Fi Rush, obviously, my God, what a great original score, just absolutely brilliant. And then you got Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. Now, people, again, I don't like Zelda. I don't have any interest in Zelda, so I don't listen to it. People tell me that they generally have good scores. But if you're telling me that out of there, you couldn't pull one out of there and put Starfield in it, I would even go so far for the one that I am aware of a lot. Well, Hi-Fi Rush I am too, because I played through the first level and I've listened to the other music because I did pull it up to listen to it. But I would pull up Baldur's Gate 3 here. It's gotten enough flowers. The score is really good. Don't get me wrong, but Starfield is on another level. Enon Zur took influence from all different sci-fi movies, games, entertainment out there, and put it into this score. The man is a musical genius, and there's just no way that Starfield couldn't be in here. But I digress. That's my rant about the snub in here. This is crazy. But out of these three, I personally would give it to Hi-Fi Rush here for the original soundtrack. I from what I know out of this group, I would give it to Hi-Fi Rush, because that original soundtrack, the whole game is based on the music.
Yep.
It is absolutely phenomenal what Tango did over there. So I would give this one to Hi-Fi Rush. That would be my personal choice here.
Okay. All right. And I guess I'll go next then. I mean,
Yep,
like you
go.
said, I do.
Yeah.
I knew you were going here. I knew it because I thought this for real. You might have posted this on Twitter as well too. About this snub in particular. But yeah, I'm going Hi-Fi Rush as well. Like I said, I ain't played Baldur's Gate 3. I've watched some Alan Wake. That seems to be more of environmental, rather than like a score. It has a good score, but rather more so just like environmental sounds and music in that way. Hi-Fi Rush, though, like you said, it's a game based around music. I was gonna say I feel like it kind of has to win this category because of the kind of game that it is. And it's original IP, brand new, left field. It's such an awesome game, and that was a highlight of the game for me. Outside of just because I love the color palette and the graphics and the way the game looked, the music was the other highlight for me as well too. So I definitely would have picked Hi-Fi Rush out of these options. Like I said, Zelda. I mean, I've watched some people play Tears of the Kingdom. I haven't played Zelda as well. But yeah, Hi-Fi Rush for me, easy. I love the music. I believe, didn't they do something similar? And don't they have a soundtrack as well? You can listen to standalone soundtrack, I believe, Hi-Fi Rush.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it has a standalone soundtrack as well too. So yeah, the game was phenomenal. I love the music. I definitely think that one takes this category. Starfield should have been in here. You're absolutely right. That score, my God, man. It just as soon as you boot the game up, the first time you hear that score, it just takes you places, man. Like I said, from the environment, just walking across a barren planet and hearing that music just start to get a little bit louder as you're walking, a little bit louder. It's so perfectly placed and handcrafted. Absolutely deserves a place in this category as well. So I agree with you on that one, Pong. So I guess we'll throw this over to Logan. See what your choice is.
This is going to be tough for me because I haven't listened to Final Fantasy or Baldur's Gate or Alan Wake because I'm with Pong on this. Like I have a hard time getting past scary games where I have to be like the driving force that moves me forward. I can watch scary stuff because I'm passively, like I can pause it, step away, whatever.
Yep.
I can't get past a scary point because I'm the one that actually has to go do that. So that's always
exactly the same as you. Exactly the same as you, sir.
I'll watch Resident Evil gameplay in any day of the week, and I will enjoy it thoroughly. But I can't do Alan Wake, and I haven't watched. I'm playing through Alan Wake 1, so I don't want to get spoiled on Alan Wake 2 because I don't want like weird stuff to be like, oh, this person's whatever. So based on this, it's hard for me to like be objective about what I think is going to be the best. But I have listened and played through Hi-Fi Rush. I have played and listened through Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. And there's something about the Zelda Tears of the Kingdom soundtrack that I also really loved about the Breath of the Wild one, which is just the atmosphere that it brings you into is one that the only word I can really describe it as is serenity. It's serene to be in that atmosphere when you're just kind of wandering around. There's light notes of music that just kind of trickles through the atmosphere. Like it's literally like just the lightest rainfall you could possibly imagine on like a spring day, and it's just enough to like kind of give that air like a fresh smell to it, And that's kind of what the music in Tears of the Kingdom does for me. It gives me just enough little hints of notes of melodies that I'm familiar with that are callbacks to the old games that have been it had music from Koji Kondo forever. And because of that, it's really hard to ignore just how well thought out, because all of those are just like little triggers. Everything happens in a world where it triggers a certain amount of music, and Sea of Thieves is like one of the few that I will always say is like the best when it comes to audio design in music. But Tears of the Kingdom does a really good job of situational like splashes of like little bits of the music that comes in, and it's so well done that I have to put it towards Zelda just because they understand when they should kind of manipulate your emotions and when they can allow you to just relax and breathe. And I think that's a cultural thing that comes from a lot of Japanese games. I see that a lot in their type of audio design, but Zelda is just, it's a standout for me on that.
Okay. All right. Umbra, so you, brother.
Boo. No, I'm joking. That was really well explained, Captain. I'm joking with you. No, that was beautifully explained. I'm unfortunately I'm a little short on some of these too. I've seen some music or heard some music for Baldur's Gate and for Alan Wake 2, and I've heard a lot of praise for Alan Wake 2 when it comes to their soundtrack. I've seen more than a few people, be it from Paris, be it from friends of mine who have co-signed Alan Wake 2's soundtrack. I will also point out too, Hi-Fi Rush. I do agree with you guys there, just because I loved how they did that as far as the world beating along with the music too. I thought
that
it
was
raw.
crazy.
Yeah, I loved it a lot, man. Hi-Fi Rush was again my first game of the year.
Mine as well.
for the year. It was like it came out and it's a surprise, and I was like, wow, I really love this game. Put a ton of time into it. I'm going to go back to it as well. I definitely believe Zelda belongs there. I'll agree as well with Masayoshi Soken, I believe, with Final Fantasy. If any category Final Fantasy should be there for, this is one. And I think this might pull out the win here. So I would see the top two here being between Final Fantasy 16 and Zelda in this category. I think Hi-Fi Rush might get pushed aside for those two, especially with a name like Soken. Soken is really well known and renowned. So I think that he might get pushed aside for that. We do have Sayuchi Koboro for Hi-Fi Rush, so it's not like there's nobody either. There, and then there's the thing, right? There's the rub. So in this category here, we also have 5 nominees, and there are some who you could argue should be here as well. Octopath Traveler 2, we talked about. I loved Octopath Traveler 1's music. I've heard some of the soundtrack from the OST from Octopath Traveler 2, and with Nishiki, he should be there possibly as for that as well. Then you have who else? You had I would even throw Hogwarts in here. Hogwarts possibly should have been in this one. Honestly,
Yes, absolutely.
Hogwarts had great music. Beautiful. It really brought you into that world. It had that whimsical thing with the little chimes and the like the Harry Potter thing does when you do what you do. It really, to me, helped carry that world. Just sound in general for that game. But the music I thought was really solid. Sea of Stars. Love that music. Really, if you all get a chance, listen to some of the Sea of Stars OST. It's really beautiful. I don't know if it's to the level of Zelda, to be fair, but I think it is really beautiful. So there are a lot that could possibly be here. I'll throw one more out there. Diablo 4.
That's a
Diablo
good one.
4
That's a
has
good one.
solid, beautiful music and fits that world and really brings you into that kind of, you know what I'm saying? That I don't know how do I put this world. World.
Umbra, how you know it's good is after you've been playing Diablo, you find yourself humming the tune when you're in town.
Oh yeah,
like it's crazy. We all do it. Like we're in Xbox Live together.
Yeah,
and we catch ourselves doing it. We all bust out laughing because it just happens. We start humming along to it. That's crazy.
A good point. Me. I start singing at the drop of a hat. So I'll be doing that, and all of a sudden I'm singing, making my own lyrics up to the damn beat. So I know what you mean exactly. So it's a lot there that I won't say anybody was snubbed necessarily, but if I look at this and I see 5, or I'm going to your point before, where maybe they could big up these categories and make them a little bigger, and so to include more people who should get at least a nod for the work they did. I think Final Fantasy 16, if it's to me, I think it's between Final Fantasy 16 and Zelda in this category here. And I'm not sure who would get it. I don't have any specific picks, but if I'm going to be biased, it'll be Hi-Fi Rush. If I'm going to be biased.
All right. We'll throw this over to you, Fuzz.
This is a tough one, and you guys have mentioned a lot of the ones that I was wondering why weren't they somehow in this category, like Diablo, like Hogwarts, like Starfield. Like there's so many games that had good original soundtracks, as well as the environmental stuff, like the lightheartedness of some of the music leading up to boss battles where it starts to get more intense. There were a lot of titles that came out this year that should be up here. Like this, in all honesty, you could probably put 8 slots and still have ones kind of that are being left off here. But of the 5 that are picked, from what I've only played Hi-Fi Rush out of these titles. Now I've heard and watched gameplay of all of the other ones, and from what I've seen, I'm going to say probably the committee vote is probably going to be Alan Wake 2. Just between the environmental stuff as well as the almost like the radio music and certain things that you'll be playing through and things along those lines. So I think Alan Wake 2 takes this category, but it would be nice if Hi-Fi Rush gets this this spot, because I don't think that there's many other categories that it's nominated in where it's going to have as good of a fighting chance. Like it is a strong title in this category, but I think Alan Wake 2 being the more recent and having more of a favorable view, especially being more in the forefront of the committee's view or memory, I think Alan Wake 2 takes the award. Hi-Fi Rush, if anything, would probably be their second choice kind of thing. But we'll see how it goes.
Okay. All right. It's a lot, like you said, a lot of good nominees already there, but there's some other ones out there that are probably even more deserving. So once again, this is a crazy year. The one thing I'm realizing as we go through these categories, it almost doesn't matter what category we pick. There's at least 3 or 4 games that probably could have and should have been added to the category.
The other problem is just, again, first of all, we need definitions in these categories. He needs to define them. He needs to be clear about the definitions. He needs to expand out not just the number of nominees per se, but he needs to expand the categories to include some different stuff to allow for some play in these categories. But we need clear defining moments. But a lot of this, and I'm not saying this is any different than any other award show when it has this type of voting system to it. This is the Cool Kids Club. A lot of the same games over and over and over again, even if they're not deserving, because they are the big guy, the cool kids in the house, in school this year, they just keep getting voted for these, even if there's ones that should be considered or should be nominated. It's just easy for these voters. And again, the question always comes down to PTK. If you're going to do this and 120 votes are cast and supposedly the votes are agreed upon by groups, if it's like, IGN gets a vote or whatever, it's supposedly agreed upon. Come on, we know that's not the case. How many of these games did these people actually play? How many? We know it's not possible for them to play all the games. We know it's not. We know that they're going to have preferences in what games they play. They're not going to play certain styles of games. So again, a lot of that I think comes into play when we see this. And I'm not saying it's different than any other award show, but I'm just saying that is a problem. That's why we see this, why we scratch our heads and go, why isn't this here? I mean, best audio design, I don't know if anybody's going to call it out, but how is Diablo 4 not in best audio design overall? My God, that game is absolutely unbelievable. Starfield could be in there too. But it's the same group, Alan Wake 2, right? And then they've got two remakes in there in Dead Space, which again, sure, it's deserving, and Resident Evil 4. So it's just the same old kind of patterns over and over again.
Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah, that is kind of crazy. And I guess we can kind of go this direction because I got a question for you four as well too. So since we talked about a couple of the categories, but the common theme seems to be like how could we, not we, but like what could Jeff do? Like what could we suggest to Jeff to make this a bit more, I don't say official, but maybe just more efficient, maybe make it a bit more clear. And there's always going to be controversy. It doesn't matter what filter, what process they use. There's always going to be people, feeling like something got left out. And obviously, I think we all understand that. But like you said, I think clearly at least defining the categories is a great start. So I want to kind of go around the panel and just ask everybody, and we'll start with you, Logan, on maybe some suggestions for like maybe if he handed you a piece of paper and said, here, give me like 3 suggestions on, how I could make the show a bit better.
Well, I definitely think that having a longer expanded list to show kind of what the rankings were, because obviously, like people didn't pick 6 games and those were the 6 games that everyone picked. Everyone picked like all of the games, but what was 6, what was 7, what was 8, what was 9, where did your game fall into, may help inform the general populace that while your game isn't listed on here, it was pretty darn close, and that some of the snubs may not be as like just having more transparency with like where things landed in the ranking after the actual awards. Because I think it's one thing to have things like up front before the awards are casted or the votes are casted and stuff, but afterwards, showing the analytics of something like this would help kind of maybe inform like how close was Starfield to getting certain nominations, how close was Hogwarts Legacy to getting into some of the rankings and stuff. But
he doesn't want to do that because it would prove more.
It may
in a lot of ways.
It would. Well, I mean, it would also kind of expose the system that they currently use.
Yeah,
you'd have to.
Correct. Yeah.
And so I think that it's funny. I just noticed I'm wearing my Hogwarts shirt today. But I mean, having something like that would be nice. Potentially deciding on how many categories each title can be elected to may help try and refine some of the choices that they're making. So we're not getting Liza P in Best RPG when it could be like, if it can be attributed to a certain category. It can't be best action and best RPG, or it can't be game of the year and best RPG. So it gives a little more breathing room for some of the stuff. Like if it's nominated for game of the year, then it can hit some of the other categories for like audio, direction, narrative, something like that. But you're not going to throw it into best action RPG or best action or best RPG. For
like
those
Baldur's Gate
categories.
3, like Baldur's Gate 3 this year.
Just to try and like say like, okay, we get it. Game of the year is it's a game of the year thing, but we understand if it hits game of the year, it's probably going to be the best in that category of the type of game that it is.
Correct.
Why not leave that open for other games that are going to be there? Like it went above and beyond just its category. Let that category breathe on its own.
Correct.
I like that idea. Because that helps. Like you said, a lot of stuff bleeds over, like a BG3, just because it gets so much recognition. You almost feel implied. You know what I mean? Like you almost feel obligated to give it all that additional credit in other categories that in just reality it probably shouldn't be in. Because there's other games that do those things specifically, maybe a little better. They're not game of the year like BG3 probably would be, but they do some of those other smaller specific things a bit better. So I do like that. So Umbra, I know you got a laundry list over there, brother. I'm pretty sure things that Keighley can do or work on to help make the VGAs maybe a bit more efficient.
Yeah, a few. I mentioned one earlier where I feel like they can break down who gets to vote. We also had a discussion on more transparency. I think transparency on how they do what they do, how the nominees are selected, which outlets are participating, because a lot of that is hidden. I'm not saying they need to put the names out for the people because we know they'll get hounded, but I think having the public publications or the sites or whatever, having them acknowledge.
Haven't they come out and said who partakes in the votes before? Haven't they?
Not individually. I don't believe the individual people know.
No, it's just by outlet.
Yeah.
Well, I remember one year they put out some kind of list. I know Phil was one of the people who voted.
I'm not
and
sure.
It was a list of people, and he was on the list. It wasn't like a long, comprehensive list of 120 people, but
Right.
there. You guys don't Pong Fuzz. Y'all don't remember that?
No, I don't remember that.
I don't either, but
I know Phil's on the board, or he's
maybe it was just a board. I don't know. I could have swore there was a list that they
I think
put
that
out.
list may have been the E3
Was it?
thing where that,
okay, maybe
where
I'm
that
thinking
was
of
like
something
it was almost
else.
like a doxing of like E3 members or something.
Maybe
board members.
Okay, I
that's
do remember
probably
that
what
one.
you're confusing it with.
Yeah, that's probably what it was then. Okay.
Because again, when they give the outlets, I know that the outlets are announced because they are according to what's been said, is that they get one vote each outlet, and they're supposed to come to an agreement amongst the reviewers or the people that are included in that outlet. It's not like one person representing that outlet makes the vote. They're supposed to come to an agreement, but we know how this works. Again, it is what it is.
Yeah, I agree.
They pick
with
one
that.
person and they say, "Go fill out the votes, please." That's
this,
what they
this
do.
year it was Dan Stapleton. This year,
Definitely Dan.
But yeah, I would say though the biggest issue with VGAs, the Game Awards, outside of how they do what they do, the lack of actual competence when it comes to what they put in where. Clearly, they're not all paying attention. Some of these people, like we talked about, we briefly mentioned the coach being in that category who didn't even coach this year. It's like, why is he coming out to tell us this? Where's the oversight to see these things? And I think it further undermines this award session that they're doing here. Also, I'll say this. I mentioned it earlier where Jeff, and we all know it's a big commercial. We all know that. And that's why they do it during the holidays.
Oh, absolutely.
We all
Absolutely.
And he's clearly trying to get it to that Oscar level thing. You know what I mean?
Pong said this the day he announced he was doing this. Pong said that.
It's very clear. And do you see it with the celebrities they bring through? But this is the problem. He's bringing in celebrities that don't even game. Al Pacino doesn't play any games. Al Pacino is too busy looking at his 30-year-old woman he has right now and telling her she's got a great ass. I'm sorry, I have to go back to that. But the thing is, it's like, if you're going to bring in celebrities, bring in people who actually game. Bring in people who actually partake in what we do. We're not tuning in just to see them, You know what I mean? We're not tuning in to see them at all. We want to see these games represented. And what I noticed that he does wrong here is he overemphasizes
Sponsorships.
seeing sponsorships from these sponsors and them from these celebrities, chewing up the scenery or whatever it may be, and then some music act or something like that we don't want to hear, and you ignore the games part of the thing where we don't see, because a lot of these awards are given off camera, off air. So stuff like that should be overemphasized. I understand though he does want to keep it where it's entertaining, and I know just continuously handing out awards maybe on air might not be that thing, but I think there's a way to get around it and to counteract that. I think talk more with the actual developers and heads of that and bring them into it, and you can find a way, I think, to make it work better. If anything, I would say that he just needs to revamp the whole idea of I need to bring a celebrity in here and focus on them, because that's not why we tune in. Much love to Al Pacino, much love to any of these other stars that they bring through, but that's not why I tuned in. I want to see who won.
Please give everybody a timer. It's okay. Like, it's fine. Not everybody just needs to get up there and just give a dissertation about their life. Like,
that's why I said I know Al Pacino knees have to be hurting that year.
Like,
I know
please.
it did.
Like, come on, what are we doing? But
I feel like you don't appreciate the Nicolas Cage coming out to explain what Dead by Daylight was,
right?
And how you can now buy his face in the game, and it's more than just a skin. He's going to be there with you, experiencing the game each time you play.
Yeah, that's fair. But no, like that's the thing. Like, even if you're going to bring in because there's plenty of stars that play games, bring those people in. If anything,
they did.
They
did. Remember when they announced the Fast and the Furious game, and they had Vin Diesel and I can't remember her name. They came out, but Vin Diesel's a gamer. Homie's been playing games most of his life, but
that's true. But it was self-serving though, because it was for that trash game they put out. And Vin is very awkward when it comes to not being an acting role. As you can notice, he's on there. He's like, it's a war. Here's a showcase for blah 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 in a deep voice. But I feel like that's cool. I don't mind that. And of course for Ark too, right? He was there, but like, that's cool. Bring in a Keanu, like, we love those moments, right? No, you're beautiful and all that. We love all that. Obviously, that was done during Microsoft's whatever, but or at least during the E3 situation. But my thing is, I think let's focus on the stars and stuff like that. More focus on the games. I think that's what they should go back to. And of course, when I mean by games, I mean even the trailers and stuff, because that's why a lot of people tune in too. Some people don't even care about the awards; they just want to see the trailers. Give us more of that rather, and focus more on that part of it.
So I do have to say, no, you're good. I do have to say one thing, Logan, before I lose the thought, and I'll go ahead and let you go, brother. I do want to give, I know we're kind of, I'm the one who posed the question about some of the things Jeff can do better. I do want to give him his flowers, because he is literally the only one doing this, or even attempting to do it. As far as like,
and that's the problem.
That's the issue, right? Like, we have a situation where we got other award shows. We got the joysticks and all, and BAFTAs and all that, but they're not on the level that commercially, they're not on the level of something like a VGAs, right? Like, you're not going to get a big show where 90 million people are going to watch the damn show. Like, nobody's watching. I don't even know if the BAFTAs get 1 million people watching them. You know what I mean? So, like, you're not going to get that draw that you're going to get on something like that. So I want to give him credit for that. It's because he's the only one doing it. We don't really have another option at this current point in time. But I know we're not really piling on him, but I just want to make sure I throw him a little bit of love, because he is kind of the only one kind of standing there taking video games to this level in this direction, actually trying to put together an award show.
I think I might start my own, just 10 categories, snub of the year and things along those lines. Like, all of the games that are snubbed that, a lot of us feel are deserving, regardless of what platform. Maybe that's a good start. I'm definitely doing something this year, so we'll see.
No, for sure. But go ahead, Logan.
I wanted to kind of jump on Umbra's point about, like, kind of cutting back some of the celebrity like sponsorships. let's get more of the actual industry leaders to talk. One of my favorite moments was when we actually got to see like the heads of each, Nintendo, PlayStation, and Xbox all up on stage together and cordially being with each other like they do on a regular basis. Things like that, like having actual people who build these games are things that I think a lot of people really resonate with. Xbox had their like kind of developer showcase at the beginning of the year when we got the Hi-Fi Rush Shadow dropped. That was one of the best ones that they had done because they actually had like members from the teams talking about the passion behind the games that they were announcing during that thing. I think if Jeff really wanted to kind of win goodwill with the community as far as like these awards being presented as like a commercial investment to show off new stuff, have more of the actual like leading industry people there who are making the games to speak to them during the awards as opposed to a representative like Doug Bowser accepting the award for every Nintendo game regardless of what the dev team is.
Yeah, that's yeah. Yeah, so
Sorry,
I don't
that's
know.
Good point.
No, it's a good point. It's a great point. So I mean, I guess I could go ahead and just do my thing next here. I like a lot of what you guys have said already. The obvious one, obviously, is the categories. I think that's kind of the biggest one for me because personally, I don't say I don't even really watch for the awards, but I think just like you said, transparency's sake, for consistency's sake, it'd be nice if you cleaned up the categories, man. You can't have games just anywhere and expect people to like take, you know what I mean, like people to really legitimize these awards. You got to put games where they need to go. You can't have a racing game in a sports category. You can't have some of these other bleed over just because the game's like the darling of the year. You can't stick it there just because it feels like we're going to draw attention to the category. Just because like you have to clean that up. So I think that's the biggest thing for me is clearing that up. The celebrity thing, pacing of the show that's been an issue with all Jeff shows, if we being honest. From the summer show to the winter VGAs, he has an issue with the celebrity thing. Can we be honest about that, Umbra?
Absolutely.
Because he does it during the summer showcase as well.
He sure
it's just as
does.
bad, if not worse, during the summer showcase. You get tons of commercials, tons of breaks. You get in between two games, you get a random celebrity that's not even associated with a game. Then you get a band after that. You don't get back to the actual games for half an hour.
Yep.
Like all kind of random pacing issues. I know that's something that's tough because he has to have the sponsors. Like that's the only way the show is going to get as big. He needs that money. We all understand why the show goes the direction that it's going. You know, he needs the finances, he needs the sponsorships, but there's got to be a healthy balance. Like he needs to bring someone else in. I assume he has some kind of team that he works with every year. But
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he might need to take a step back and bring somebody else in that can maybe put a more cohesive show together. Maybe somebody has experience doing that. I'm not 100% sure, but because the show can be a bit disjointed from time to time. It loses me a lot of years for long stretches of period of time. So I think those probably are the 2 or 3 biggest things that I would say that would probably improve the show. So we can throw this over to you. Fuzz, did you get in here already?
No, for me, I guess it comes down to the voting aspect, and I don't know what the perfect system would be, but I do feel if you're going to have like critics, as far as like the same ones that do the review sites and such, be part of the nominating aspect, then the actual votes should be based on the fan base as opposed to them. Because if they're the ones selecting the categories, they already have like their own preconceived vision of what would be the winning one. Either have them do the narrowing down, let the fans vote, or let the fans pick the ones that should be selected, or even give the fans the option to do a write-in for things like snubs. I know that might be a bit extreme as far as figuring out how to put a website together that's going to validate unique IP addresses and all that kind of stuff, or God forbid if they could realistically have it where you could do the voting based on your gamer tag or your PSN or your Steam ID. There is software out there that can connect those things to a site if you authorize them, and some people do that for things like true achievements or true trophies and whatnot. So possibly something along those lines where I wouldn't say there's accountability, but there is some validity, so you don't have like bots just constantly, like somebody writing a script to, spam votes or whatever type of deal. But I think there needs to be more involvement of the community as far as in the voting process or maybe the selection process. Keep the critics involved as such as well, and possibly even industry as well. Like if anything, I know it would be hard to ask PlayStation or ask Xbox what are what are the three main games that you want out of all of your studios to put towards the game of the year. Like maybe even have that as a part of the deal. Like, hey, Xbox only put these three titles up for nomination. PlayStation put these three up. Nintendo put these three up, and then based out of those, included it with maybe the multi-platform titles that the media has already evaluated. That's your starting list, and then let the fans vote, or maybe the media goes from there. I don't know what a perfect solution would be, but something definitely needs to change, or just more options as far as these award shows. Like I think having the industry more readily involved, because it almost makes sense more so to have your peers evaluate your stuff kind of thing. So not saying that, there is going to be competition in-house between studios. I'm pretty sure, Ninja Theory wants to do better than Obsidian. Obsidian wants to do better than Coalition, and so on and so forth. But having your peers being involved in that process, I think, and I think that's the case for DICE, if I'm not mistaken. I think it leads to a better overall appreciation for the work and the art of that's involved in gaming, and that way hopefully you avoid scenarios like Hogwarts Legacy being completely ignored despite all of the hard work, despite all of the critically acclaimed reviews and things like that for it. Like, I'm not saying that sales should solely be a number, but it should be part of what, numerous factors in including a game in certain categories. Like there should be a blockbuster category, which solely looks at how well a game does based on its expectation. Like, sure, obviously last year Elden Ring would have probably taken that, or you may have even your go-to annual titles like your Maddens or your Call of Duties and things like that, because there is some validity to those, because the casual market being probably more than 80% of the market, they're buying that title on a regular basis. Yeah, despite us complaining about whatever issues or with the games and stuff, it's still a noteworthy, or at least a regarded title enough to move 10 million, 20 million, or 30 million copies. I don't think there's ever been a year where Grand Theft Auto has ever been nominated for anything. And I know some people don't necessarily agree that should be a game of the year category, but there is enough of a following and enough of a demand for that title that the fact that it didn't make most anticipated game, I don't know exactly what their qualifications were. Like, it is officially announced that there is a Grand Theft Auto 6, but somehow it didn't make the list for most anticipated category. It just goes to show how, at least from my standpoint, the Game Awards just don't feel like they're connected to the gaming community. It feels like kind of like what Pong was saying. It's like the cool kids wanted to do this, but these aren't even really the cool kids. These are the kids that just happen to, be at the forefront of whatever business or media outlet kind of thing. So it's like, if they're going to make the selections and do the voting process, and it seems to go against what we see the rest of the industry, or even the consumer base going after, then it's like a waste of time at that point. I don't know if there is a real solution other than just more options, and then from there, like one big thing I do want to see, but I know it's not going to happen for marketing purposes, hold off the awards until January or February. Like, let's be real. If you're going to have a year of, like the game of the year of 2022 or 2023 or whatever year, include the whole year from January 1 to December 31. Like, I get why they do it in November or December because of marketing. If you could put that sticker on the box for game of the year, it's going to sell more copies. But maybe that's where part of the problem is. Like, take out the marketing aspect, but then again, do you get the funding? Do you get the sponsorships to pay for all that? So there's got to be a better approach. I don't have it all just yet, but I'm definitely going to start working on what would be an easy alternative that involves the community, involves the industry, and involves the media. And I think we need to, kind of brainstorm from there.
Okay. All right. Are you guys all watching it this year?
No.
Yes.
Oh
You
yeah.
guys watch it?
I'll watch
Okay.
the trailers afterwards for the,
Okay.
unveilings.
All right. All right. So I'm assuming, are you guys all just reveals and trailers like me, or you guys care about the actual categories as well?
I do for a good number of them because it helps kind of formulate like what's going to get pushed up the list of like things I haven't checked out yet. But overall, it's just it's interesting. It's like watching a car crash. Like it's going to be bad, but you still want to watch. And you're not sure why, but at some point you're going to see something interesting, and I think that's important to kind of like, if we're going to talk about it, I want to show up and actually and say like, okay, well,
Yeah.
I'm not just I don't want to be a bystander on this. I want to actively like see that I can speak to it and stuff. And I not to begrudge Pong on this, because I definitely understand where he's coming from on this one. I just feel like it's important for me as someone that wants to be invested in the game industry that I try to watch as many of the game awards as I can to see like how people.
Oh no, I watch it too, Captain Logan. We're gonna live stream it. We're gonna live stream it. Shameless plug.
Okay.
Fun Speculation Network. PM and the PM will be irregular that night. We'll have some of the fam there. We're gonna be live streaming the Game Awards. So come join the Fun Speculation Network.
Now, is it going to be
Nameless
East Coast
plug.
or West Coast?
I'm sorry, what?
Is that going to be
Say that again?
East Coast or West Coast for that time frame?
I don't know when the time. I'm trying to. Do we know what the time? What
Mav is in chat. Mav, let us know. He was
It'll
down in
probably be
chat
West
somewhere.
Coast time.
Probably West Coast. Mav is in what, Texas, I believe.
No,
right?
no,
So-
we're central. We're central.
Central.
So yeah,
Oh,
we are
yeah.
central. So yeah, we'll be live streaming at
What is
Coast
Central Time? Isn't there like just East and West?
No, there's
No,
not.
no, no.
Central.
Sir,
I'm at
sir,
In the middle.
Yeah, come on now.
Central,
Come on now. Don't do that.
Don't be a
Don't do that,
coastal
Logan.
elite, sir, Logan.
It's like Buffalo time, right?
Dude,
Like
we are not. Listen, don't start the flyover country. Do
This
not
man just
start.
erased all of Illinois,
goodwill.
Chicago.
Like-
East Coast
like
is the
West
best
Coast.
Come on.
West Coast starts at California and goes to Vegas, and then East Coast starts at like New York, and then it goes to like, I don't know, Atlanta. That's like
Wow.
right.
Wow.
It's just erased
Coastal
all
elite.
of
I
it.
never
That's
thought,
crazy.
Captain Logan. I got a whole new perspective on you, sir.
I
Did
pay
you-
for
did
my
you-
weather.
He
you-
snubbed.
did
He
you get in
snubbed
on that last
the
topic,
Midwest.
Well, I kind of started it with
Go
my
ahead.
again. I kind of started it
Yeah.
with my again a lot of good points from everybody here. Again, I think there's some pretty obvious stuff that he can do. I'll just go back to what I've been pounding the table for the past 3 years since I jumped in this community and started podcasting. When we talk about reviewing, because I think that the Game Awards is just an extension of the review process. At the end of the day, certification and standardization. Period. Point blank. We have to. And again, that's why I want them to keep burning and throwing gasoline on the fire. Every time something like this happens, every time a review comes out that's obviously biased in some way or shape or form, it just pours gasoline and the cries are getting louder and louder. Keeley is obviously feeling it this year more than even most years because of the outcry here. There has to be an industry-wide coming together and really coming up with guidelines and then getting a certified group of people, whether it's members of the industry or whether it's a certified journalist panel of reviewers who understand what their job is, what the guidelines are, what the rules are, and more importantly, that the gamers understand what the guidelines and the rules are, so that if there are any types of discussions to be had, it comes from a place where we understand the base, right? And we can have a discussion knowing that this is the rules, these are the guidelines, this is what we understand this to be. And if there's an outlier, then we can pick apart the outlier and find why and where that happened in that outlier. Why maybe that, happened, versus a lot of speculation, a lot of us, talking about a lot of different scenarios in the cases. And that, again, I think it applies to the Game Awards too. Keighley needs to make this a transparent process. He needs to release. I love Captain Logan's idea that after the award show, he releases the entire list of all the nominees and how they ranked. I think that would be great. Now, again, what I said was my own personal feelings on it, that he probably doesn't do that because it could potentially show some scenarios where bias really does show up. But I would love to see that. I think that's a great start to it. But again, certification and standardization of the process and making that process known clearly to the gamers of how this all goes down, that is the most important part to start building this into something more than, as again, I'll go back to our show this morning on Living Split Screen, and Nixie in the chat, he brought it up. He's not in here tonight, but he's always in our chat on Living Split Screen. He said award shows are entertainment. That would be fine if that was the agreement across the board. Like we all just said, award shows are just entertainment and nothing matters. Unfortunately, in this industry and most entertainment industries, the awards do have an effect on the wider audience and on the games, the devs and the publishers themselves, because at the end of the day, this is a business. So I'll restate my points from this morning. These awards, review scores, they all still do matter. As a gamer, I could care less. It doesn't make me play a game, or it doesn't make me not play a game. I play games that I want to play, that I think look and sound interesting. That's it, period, point blank. But to the wider audience, it does have effect. To the casuals who do still go to places like IGN for their news and their reviews, and to get told what games they should be playing, what's the new cool kid on the block who I should go play, that still has that effect there. And me, from that standpoint, a game that I'm enjoying, when I look at it from the business side of things, it is vital that that game in this day and age is highly successful, is awarded, does get good review scores, because if I want the devs and the publishers to continue that franchise or that IP forward, that success is going to be one of the key factors if they decide to do a sequel, if they decide to go back to it again, right? Especially in the AAA space. So with the high risk that there is out there, we've seen it time and time again. I have hundreds of games that I've played over the past 40 years of IP that I love that have been shelved permanently forever because there just wasn't a greater audience, or the audience moved on and it's no longer viable. So if I do care about a game, this does matter to me, because I do want them to get their flowers, and I want them to get their flowers on a human level too. Again, I'm not a participation trophy guy. I don't think everybody should win at the end of the day, but I do think when it is deserving, that those dev teams should get the flowers they deserve, and know for a fact that it was based on objectiveness, not subjectiveness all the time. And yes, video games are art in a lot of ways, so there's always going to be some subjective stuff to it. I hear that argument all the time. That is a fact. There is art in video games. However, there is a whole technical side of creation that is very objective, that we can legit have conversations on, and that reviewers can focus on, and not forgive certain IP or certain devs or certain publishers when their game, objectively, technically speaking, is not good. And they should be called out and criticized for that stuff. But yet time and time again, we see certain favorability to certain IP, certain devs and certain publishers, and more criticism to others and more highlights of those problems. So that's where my certification standardization comes in. I'll just end it there. I could keep going. This is passionate. This is passionate for me. No, I think there needs to be a lot of changes. There just needs to be a lot of changes.
No, it's all good, brother. And once again, I mean, we're gonna wrap the show up at this point, but I think that's kind of an overall theme. We didn't get to all of the categories. I didn't plan on getting everything because not all of us care about all the categories. Overall, I just wanted to talk about the show going forward, and how do we what do we think about this upcoming show, game of the year, all of the big topics. But I think we're gonna go ahead and just wrap things up with that, man. It was a phenomenal show. Glad to be back this week, man. Such a great feeling. Chat was lit. It seems like the later we got, the more people are coming in here, so I appreciate that. Seen a lot of new faces and names, so please subscribe if you're new. Hopefully you like the show and want to come back and do it again next week, because we will be here for sure again. Same time, same place. But let me go ahead and just get to my guests real quick, because they are the stars of the show. And I just want to say much appreciated to you, Logan, you, Umber, once again for hanging out with us, man. You guys are fucking awesome. Love having you both on the show. We're going to start with you, Logan. Let everybody know where they can find you, what you got going on, any upcoming projects, anything you got going coming up.
So please, if anyone wants to hear some deeper conversation that I got into with XEP this week, there was a lot of conversation that I think would resonate really well with what Pong was just talking about. That
Shout out to Luke too.
Yeah, Luke Lohr, my co-host. He's the one that created Xbox Expansion Pass. It's over on YouTube. It's on anywhere that you're listening, Spotify and stuff. There was a really good conversation to be had about this exact kind of discussion that I think if you enjoyed this show, I would urge you to go check out our show as well too. Outside of that, Sea of Thieves is rocking right now. They brought back a voyage that feels like OG Sea of Thieves, when everyone was chasing each other, trying to shoot each other in the back as they were trying to turn in treasure. That it's rare, and that's been really fun. But outside of that, I gotta shout out you guys for inviting me back on. It's not too often that I get to really kind of like dive into the topics that I've already talked about with one podcast, and getting to kind of explore other people's thoughts and feelings and stuff like that. Like in this situation, absolutely love it. So thank you for bringing me on.
Not a problem at all, Logan. You're amazing. Once again, do me a favor, go check out Logan. The podcast with Keel, was it the
Keelhaul podcast?
Keelhaul podcast. I want to make sure I was saying that right.
Mm.
And XEP as well too. Shout out to Luke, man. Like I said, you're always been a big guy over here at the Shop Podcast. You've always shown a whole lot of love. So please, we like to reciprocate that love in chat as well too. Go follow Logan, everything he's got going on, man. We definitely want to have you back here sometime soon, brother. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Next, we got Mr.
Infinite Umbra. That's great. He's done. Okay, Infinite PTK. You better get to Splen super chat before he goes crazy.
Oh yeah. Let me do that. I'm so sorry. We had like 5 of them in here. I'm so sorry, Swim. Before we get to Umbra, we got a $2 super chat. He said, "Boycott that." What do you say? Boycott that. Boycott us. Boycott us, man. I feel that way. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then he had another one recently too.
Okay, well, look, I got a bunch of them.
Okay, keep going.
Yeah, so Xbox gamers don't matter to Jiffy Job Jeffy Keys. Another $2. He said, "My community matters. Damn it, mad that Halo didn't get nothing." I understand, brother. All right, another $2 super chat. They went out of the way to make sure Sony got flowers. Okay.
Look at Splen. Splen just whipping out the card tonight. Let's go, Splen. 2 bombs everywhere, Splen. Let's go.
Said, hate the fact that journalists get to vote. Hate that. So, okay.
Yep.
All right.
We know where Splen's at.
Yeah, we definitely know
burn it all down, man. Just burn it all
appreciate
down.
you, brother. Anti-establishment.
Let's rebuild from the ashes. Let's go.
Exactly.
No, there's pro Sony. There's
well, let's get to our other guests as well too. We don't want to forget about him.
Yeah,
Mr.
no, it was great.
Umbra.
It was great. He was here.
Oh my goodness.
Let's go.
You know what, PTK? Now I need you to add a little more stank to my name.
Oh, you do that to yourself, Umbra. If we talking about stank.
He's trying to take away from my shine. So kindly,
this is crazy.
Reintroduce me.
Listen,
I'm going on mute. Go ahead.
I've done 200 shows with Pong. This has never happened with anybody else. I promise you.
Hate overtakes him when it comes to me. I don't know what it is, man. I don't know.
Like Anakin and Obi-Wan here.
Yeah.
Well, I am definitely Obi-Wan.
Yes,
There's no doubt about that.
What?
Umbra be killing some kids, that's for sure.
I saw who Anakin got with. I mean, if that's the choice you want to make.
Hey, we can't all catch these W's. I'll be Anakin for a minute,
brother.
So I did put my link in it, and I think Shansu more than likely is going to put the link to the channel. Thank you, Shansu. Man, shout out, guys. Thank you, PTK and guys, for having me again. Even you, Pong. Captain Logan.
I know.
It's a pleasure meeting you, Captain Logan.
Likewise.
Definitely got to have a conversation with you too at some point. Maybe have you come to the fix if we can in the future. But yeah, man. As far as what I'll be up to, of course, I have the show on Tuesday with Boom and Cast. Myself, Danny McGee, and C Money on Tuesdays at 12 o'clock Eastern. Thursday is The Fix, my show, 8 o'clock Eastern. And Friday, Xbox Infinite at 8 o'clock Eastern with myself, Risky for the Biscuit, Jedi Knight Peter, and that blue number. So yeah, you guys definitely come by and show us some love there if you can. And as I was promoting before, Shane Bailey's Cure for Cancer charity table, Halo 2 table read is what we'll be doing November 25th. I believe he'll be hosting it off Twitch. I'm not sure, but I will be posting updates about it on my timeline and such, and I'll definitely try to get more notice to it before that happens. So yeah, hope you guys can come through for that. It's a charity thing, like I said, it's for cancer. So if you can, we did one for them already before. We raised $250 and some whatever. I was happy about that. I didn't think we were going to get that much. So kudos to those who did donate. It's for a great cause. We've all had family members or known people who dealt with cancer and such. So it is very noble of a cause to donate to if you can. It doesn't need to be anything exorbitant. $5 is if you can. If you can do that, that's more than enough, in my opinion. But yeah, I did want to read one thing that I said I was doing since I'm doing.
Do your thing.
I want that sample.
That little sample right there. I know Pong is feeling salty over there that he doesn't quite have the bass capable in his voice to do this, but it's all right, Pong. I got you. So
we all got our places, sir.
So this is Tartarus in Act 6. I'm not sure what this is at. So here we go. Noble prophets of truth and mercy, I have brought the incompetent. So I'm going to put more of a growl to it when I do it. I'm going to be noble prophets of truth and mercy. I'm going to really get into this, and I'm really excited for this. So I'm treating it like I'm doing an audition, being honest. So I'm really going to get into this when we do this, and I want you all to come by, or if I can get some snippets or something like that, I'll post it too. But yeah, thank you guys for having me.
Not a problem, brother.
I'm feeling that, Chris Judge.
Yeah, I like that, man. That's awesome.
I feel like I was watching an episode of Mystery Science Theater 3000 for all the old enough people in the chat.
That was awesome, though. So shout out to you, Umbra. Once again, a very, very noble, great cause. Please, everybody go. So we said the 25th of November, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so I'm sure you'll be posting that as you get closer to the event. So please go support. We'd love to support that. Like I said, pretty much all of us have been affected at some point by something like that, by cancer. So go support, show some love, do what you can do. We appreciate you coming on the show, though, Umbra. Always been a big fan of you. The Fix is growing, brother. I got to make sure I throw that in there too, man. Kudos for what you got going on over there at your show too, man. It's been great seeing you grow and just watching you get to this point, bro. So it's always awesome, man. Gotta
appreciate you, brother,
for that. Not a problem at all, brother. But let's throw this over to Mr. Fuzzy Belvedere, man. My two right hand man to make this show what it is, man. Another great show in the books. We back this week. It felt good. I actually got more energy as the show went on, so this is exactly what I needed. But yeah, let everybody know where they can find you, Fuzz.
Oh, it's always awesome being on here with you guys, and I love it when we have special guests like Umbra and Captain Logan. So great conversation. Always like your guys' feedback and thoughts on stuff. So can't wait to have you guys back on here. And always love doing the show with you and Pong about PTK. So man, it's been a pretty good year, or actually a pretty great year as far as gaming is concerned. So glad that this year's wrapping up. We got a lot to look forward to for next year. But for those that want to hear my rambles and rants on anything gaming related, just follow me on Twitter at Fuzzy_Belvedere. You can also find me on Xbox Lunch Break Special, 12 noon, on Double Barrel Gaming with Mr. Boomstick, Crazy Louie, and Web Dave. And then later on in the evening at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Fun Speculation Network for the FSP show, where we basically go over all the platforms and stuff. And then look forward to seeing you guys here next Saturday. Holidays pretty much going to be crazy this year, but next Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Shop Podcast. Look forward to seeing everybody in the chat. Thanks for everybody in the chat for showing up and interacting with us. We greatly appreciate it.
Appreciate you, Fuzz, man. Appreciate you. Thank you so much, man. Super consistent. Love having you here, brother, every single week. You guys go check out Fuzz. Demand content from Fuzz. Please do that for me. Go to his X account and just like flood his DMs, tell him to make as much content as possible. We appreciate you, Fuzz. Thank you so much. And last but not least, Mr. Pong Soul, man. We fit the egos. We got the egos through 2 hours. So we made it work, brother.
Barely.
Surprised we made it with Pong on that soapbox.
Barely.
You know,
We did barely. Hey, listen, I waited till you were done, Umbra. So I made sure I had the oxygen, okay? All right. I just made sure that there was enough for both of us, all right? I did the sacrificing during this show, sir. So just remember that.
Yeah. All we had to do was sacrifice our time to you to talk. That's all it was. Yeah.
Great show, everybody. It was fantastic. Love Captain Logan and Umbra's opinions and thoughts on this. And we had some big topics tonight and some definite passionate topics. That's why we're here. And that's what makes these nights really great, even on the harder topics, even on the not so, hey, let's just talk about the great games right now topics. I think it's still important conversations to have. And that's why I love this podcasting community and being here with my brothers and having guests like Logan and Umbra. So in chat, you guys were absolutely incredible. Really good discussions in there as well about topics that we were having and about outside topics as well. That's what I love about these chats too. You guys are a part of the show as much as we are, as I always like to state. So thank you all for being here. Nothing but love and respect. And I do want to give a special shout out outside of the gaming community today. Real quick, don't know how many of you are aware, don't know how many of you follow this stuff, but my God, I woke up this morning to one of the greatest sites ever. Shout out to SpaceX, shout out to Elon and his team for launching Starship and pushing humanity forward where our governments have become cowards. One of the greatest launches I've seen, such a special moment. Again, it's a kid who went to space camp, who dreamed of being an astronaut at one point, who loves that and just loves trying to find what's out there and moving humanity beyond just this planet. What a special day it was for that. Man, I woke up this morning right before Living Split Screen and got to watch the launch, and my God, it was a glorious. Please go watch the highlights of that if you haven't seen it already. Just a huge moment, and we're one step closer to getting people to Mars, which is going to be our first step off. So just wanted to give that out there as a personal note. So anyways, otherwise, next week starts all over again. Double Barrel Gaming on Tuesdays. Mr. Boomstick is the man. Xbox Factor is the show. 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 o'clock Central Time. Be there for all the great things green every Tuesday. Thursday, we are off because it is Thanksgiving in the U.S., so no PM in the PM on Thursday. You guys got a night off, so enjoy it. If you guys are in the U.S. celebrating Thanksgiving with your families, please hug them, love them, tell them how thankful you are for them, and enjoy that night. And then Friday, we should be back for Xbox Ultimate, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time on the Fun Speculation Network, where the fam gets together, and we have a lot of laughs, but we have a lot of good talks too about gaming, so be there for that. And then Saturday mornings, it's Living Split Screen. Split Screen is all one word. Myself, my brother from another, Steel Rain. We go 3+ hours. We almost had another 5-hour show today, this morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time. Buckle up. Get those alarms set now. Be ready. Next Saturday is going to be a fun one. And then I'll be back here, God willing, for another episode of the Shop Podcast with my two other brothers from another, PTK Blam and Fuzzy Belvedere, and whoever we may have as a guest. It's the golden age of gaming, people. Please enjoy the rest of your weekend. Play some of this amazing content that is out there. Hundreds of games right now for each of us. Play what you love what you play, and I'll talk to you all real soon. Thanks, PTK.
Appreciate you, brother. Like I said, go follow Pony. The easiest way to keep up with everything he has going on, go follow him on the X account. Hit him up there. Appreciate you, Pony. Like I said, every single week, the battery of the show here, man. But last but not least, your host here, PTK Blam, across the board. Glad to be back, man. This was a big week for me personally. Just feeling good about being back, having a show back. Saturdays are always a little weird when we don't get to do one of these, and people miss it as well. So glad to see all of the fresh faces in chat. You guys are fucking amazing. You guys really kill this every single week, and I really appreciate you guys more than you guys know. So thank you for that. But follow me on X. If you want to keep up with what's going on with the show, you guys got ideas, want particular guests, you can always hit me up there. DMs are open as well. I rarely block people, so you can always send me things there if you need to. But other than that, we will be back here same time, same place next week. And I know you guys are kind of getting used to the time change as well too. So I appreciate you guys though. Once again, be safe, have a phenomenal weekend, Peace out, everybody.